Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now available on eBay. You can add this to your collection. Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. Get this WWE NXT TakeOver War Games 2020 11x14 limited edition autograph poster signed by everyone on the event. Number 23 of only 100 made. Includes signatures from the Undisputed Era, Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Tommaso Ciampa, Timothy Thatcher, Io Shirai, Tony Storm, Rhea Ripley, Dexter, Loomis, and more. Comes with authentication hologram on the back of the poster. Also comes with mystery autographed 8x10 and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed Studio Shoot Interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is Saturday night. It's fight night. It is like Saturday night's main event, only minus the wrestling. We just bring you the legends, the superstars that were part of it. I'm Dan Marty here at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts, in the zip code of Champion 02176, a beautiful 55 degrees, sunny day here in the Boston area. We'll take that with the Arctic winter temperatures we had at times this season. The news is good, as we learned from Memorial Hall that to try and accommodate as many of you fine wrestling fans as humanly possible, we're going to have almost a two-part celebration. Saturday night, November the 13th, it is going to be the 20th anniversary live wrestling event of Boston Wrestling MWF, and that live wrestling event is going to be part of our Back to the 80s WrestleFest reunion, where the superstars of that era are going to be in your face live, signing autographs, posing for photos, and all that fun stuff. It is going to be a happening. So much news is going to be coming in the months and weeks to come, because believe it or not, it'll be here before you know it. November, you might say, geez, that is a ways away, but to those of us that are planning it, No, it is not a ways away. It is certainly going to be sneaking up on us much sooner than later. But here on Wrestling Insiders Week in Review, the concept is simple. Sometimes I do it podcast style like tonight. Sometimes I have special guests with me. But what we do is come to the realization is that there is so much wrestling content out there, and along with the thing called life, that not everybody has 4 nights a week to dedicate to our wonderful Studio Shoot Interview talk shows. So on Saturday night, we get together and hang out, usually at 10 o'clock, unless there's a pay-per-view on, and we play all 4 of those interviews with the live premiere chat going, where we can share our opinions, our thoughts, our hopes, our desires, our dreams of the King of Sports. Of course, the Super Chat is open for business if you want to help keep the lights on and keep wrestling legends working. As always, we have to note that there are several ways you can help the cause in growing this channel, you can give the video a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is absolutely free, and click on the little bell that gives you the notifications every time there is a new video. And we do have new video content 7 days a week. Just ask my brain, as I have to edit and produce them. And of course, share the links. Share them across social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Reddit, on wrestling websites, on wrestling Facebook groups. Share, share, share. It costs absolutely nothing other than a few seconds of your time. The more fans we have engaged with what we do, the more offers we can present to wrestling legends to keep working and share their stories with you. I do not have enough ego to say that I don't realize that there are millions upon millions of fans that don't realize we exist, but once they do, much like the tremendous growth we've seen almost tenfold over the past year, they're going to love what we do. For those fans that are a little bit more ambitious, that love the nightlife, much like, Jackie the Joke Man that we mentioned in the AEW review this week. Jackie is a man that loves the nightlife. The coronavirus has killed his passion for it. But the eBay store, don't worry, folks, it's open 24/7 worldwide. We have great wrestling merchandise for you to decor your man cave with, or however you display your collectibles on the road to WrestleMania. Great stuff with superstars of every era. And don't forget the big one. If you watch any of our shows, we continue to be a friend, a good friend, a close personal friend. But if you head on over and join the Patreon, baby, you're like family, because you get the early, ad-free access to all of the Wrestling Insider talk shows. You get the acclaimed, world-renowned studio shoot interview DVD library that's been seen by millions online, millions on the Howard Stern Show. You get the Patreon exclusive content, and again, you can directly know that you are helping these wrestling legends, these veterans, these Hall of Famers earn an income during the worst of times during coronavirus, when there aren't any independent wrestling shows for them on the weekends, when there aren't autograph signings and there aren't Fanfest. They need the help they can get. The one great thing about our studio is, even though it is done in small doses, we are at least able to try and help the cause. So let's tune everything up, fans. We have several hours of great wrestling talk and entertainment ahead. The first one tonight is Mr. USA Tony Atlas's Wrestling Insiders at your house. It is a special installment of Ask Atlas, where Tony Atlas gives life advice, answering some of your questions. All right, whether you're a wrestling fan, if you're a fan of life, if you're a fan of Dear Abby, Dr. Phil, I don't know what else to call this, Tony. We had so much fun on the first episode. I could not believe the fan response to what your thoughts on life in general.
Oh, hell.
And we put it up on Twitter and Facebook for more questions. Tony, we have a slew of them. We only have a certain amount of time tonight, but we're certainly going to go through them one by one.
Okay, let's get one on.
I think Diane Kane of Woburn, Massachusetts is ready to castrate her husband after that story, or your response to her story about the husband urinating in the sink.
Well, it's disrespectful.
It was disrespectful.
Of course
You're
it
right.
is. She got to clean that. Your wife got enough work to do. So, you should help your wife around the house to keep things clean, make things easier. You know what I learned from helping the wife out?
What did you learn?
More fun in the bedroom.
Whoa, wait, now, wait.
Where she's not tired.
All right,
she's not frustrated.
We got some youngins in the control room.
Well,
Tony.
they're going to get married one day, too, and they should know that when you try to use a teacher. Teach them while they're young. Don't wait till they get old farts and destroy so many women's lives before they learn something like I did.
Gabe Gift Garrison and the prodigy.
Yeah, it's good to help the wife out around the house.
All right, Tony, we only have, I know we have a very important call to make. Let's try and get through as many of these as we can.
Okay.
Tony, I'm engaged to get married next spring, even with life being uncertain due to the virus. Recently, I went back to work while my fiance was working from home. One night, I happened to use his laptop, and when searching his browser history, I came across an obscene amount of internet searches for HLA while I was at work. Should I confront him? Is this something I should accept he'll do in his spare time? Is it better than him having an actual affair? Signed, Lisa McLaughlin. Now, do you think she should be upset about this HLA?
I think yes, but when you confront him, do it in a civilized manner. Because when you attack somebody, you put that person on the defense, and you get nowhere.
Yeah.
You put them on the defense, you get nowhere. You just ask him straight out. Say, can I do that?
You think she should ask her fiance if she
Can
can
she do the
search
same thing?
for hot lesbian action?
Right. So
Really?
Well, no. If it's not okay to him for her to do it, it should not be okay for him to do it. See, I tell every woman, any place your husband go that you can't go, he shouldn't be there. When you're going to be a couple, like I tell my wife this all the time, there's no Tony, there's no Monica, it's us. You are as one. And he should put all of his attention and love and towards the woman that he's going to marry. I mean, once you see, women always obligate themselves to us guys. Guys feel like this old saying, they want to have the cake and eat it too. When you with a woman, you got to cut other women out of your life, because all you're doing is destroying that woman's self-esteem. You destroying her. Ain't no woman want to see her man gawking at another woman. When I take my wife out to dinner, all my attention is on my wife. I don't sit at the dinner table with my wife gawking and drooling at the mouth of every woman that walk by. When I'm with my wife, I'm with my wife. When I'm away from my wife, I tell other women, you take women, even women that walk on me, I say, well, you know, I'm married. I talk about my wife all the time. You know this. I'm not, you know, I ain't gonna do nothing to my wife or in front of my wife that I wouldn't want my wife to do. Now, what if she got to ask herself, what if she done it? How would he feel about it?
Well, I'm going to guess if he is, as she wrote, searching for obscene amounts of hot lesbian action, maybe he'd like it if she was looking for it online.
Well, no, he shouldn't be looking at any other woman.
Lesbians.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that to these women. You expect these women to put up with bad behavior. You destroying her self-esteem. You shouldn't have your wife, your girlfriend, your fiance fighting another woman for your affection. I watched Jerry Springer with these women out there fighting over this guy. The guy there, he's laughing at both of them. And then they do fight. I don't want neither one of them. Then they really look stupid. You know, women's got to learn to believe that they deserve better than this. If a guy do that to my wife, to my daughter, I punch him out.
You wouldn't want your son-in-law looking at lesbians.
I wouldn't want my son-in-law to look at nobody but his wife. Why is he getting married? There's nothing wrong with chasing women. I did it. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of affairs with women. I did it. But when you get married, or when you get engaged, or when you are committed to one person, you have to be committed to that one person. You know, it's fair. No man want a woman to do that to them.
No.
Ain't no man gonna put up with that.
No.
But we expect women to put up with it. I mean, I don't want my wife looking at naked guys on the computer. I don't. And why would my wife accept me looking at naked women on the computer? And I say, oh, it's just porn. But I got to look at another woman and get turned on. Well, you know what happening, ladies? While he's having sex with you, he's thinking about that woman he saw on the porn.
He's thinking about these lesbians.
Exactly. Yeah. Come on, he got to be more. We have to learn how to. Woman is God gift to man. God gift to man. And you should treat your woman as a gift. And if you treat her that way, I did that with my wife, and my wife stuck with me through thick and thin. And I'm not easy to live with. But because of the respect I gave her, I never disrespected my wife in public. All them women that he texts, that he look at, they laughing at his wife. They said, what idiot is married to this guy? He's just making his wife look bad.
To answer Lisa's final question, though, is it better than him having an actual affair?
No, emotionally, physically, it don't matter. It's the same thing. You taking from her and giving to another, no matter how you slice it. Right. You getting emotionally, sexually turned on by someone else other than your wife. You ask another woman to do something for you instead of getting it from your wife. It don't matter if it's physically or emotionally. And what a lot of people don't know, emotionally hurts a lot. Physically, like you punch me in the face, the next day, the pain gone away from a punch.
Right.
You hurt me emotionally, it stayed with me forever. It don't go away. So he hurting her worse. He making her feel less than what she is. That he have to go to another woman instead of him. No matter how you say, you asking another woman for something.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think maybe Lisa should reconsider marrying this man?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to determine that.
He should just stop looking for lesbians on the internet.
I was that way. The people know this. I don't mind saying that. I was addicted to drugs. Mm-hmm. My wife put her foot down. She said, either the dope got to go or I'm going to go. You choose who you want to be with, the dope man or with me. And I looked at where I was going with the dope man, which was nowhere, and I look at where I was going with Monica. If it wasn't for my wife, I would have OD'd maybe 30 years ago. So I tell my wife all the time, the last 30 years of my life, I owe to my wife, Monica. When I was at the Hall of Fame, thank you, Mr. McMahon, Vince put my wife on tape because you hear the story of how my wife saved my life. If you treat a woman the right way, you would be glad in the long run. You'd be glad. What if your father had done that to your mother? Will you like that? What if your daughter, boyfriend do that to your daughter? Will you like that? So why would you do that to your children's mother and do that to her parents' child? You destroying a person internally with hurt and last a lot longer. Because if you abuse her that way, even if she don't marry him, she's gonna take abuse from another one.
Someone else.
It's abuse. She's being mentally, emotionally abused. Abuse is not always physical, like people think.
No, not at all.
It could be emotional.
Mentally.
And that's why women have such low self-esteem, because us guys do things to women and expect the woman to accept it. But you let her go out and do half of that with him. You watch the difference. He blow a freaking fuse. He blow a fuse. If he walk in the house and see a guy just sitting there talking to her when he's not home, he's gonna blow a fuse. But he want to get on. No, you shouldn't do that. No.
No lesbian action.
No action. I don't care if it's lesbian, straight, gay. I don't give a red ass.
No action.
No action with other females.
All right.
Or else you're not ready yet.
Well, hopefully Lisa.
She probably ready, but he ain't.
He's too immature for marriage, maybe.
I wouldn't say he's immature. I don't know the man, but I just know, just from what you said, I just know what I would do. I wouldn't do a woman like that. I would not destroy a woman emotionally like that.
We have another question from Wendy G, Tony. As marijuana use becomes legal and more acceptable here in Massachusetts, should I discuss my own use with my kids? Is it okay to smoke in front of them?
No.
All right, well, explain.
No. Marijuana, even though it's legal, it has everything got good and bad in it. Everything got good and bad in it. Marijuana slows down your learning process. It makes you unambitious. You got to realize it's a relaxer. Mm-hmm. So it take away a person's ambition. When I was lifting weights, I learned from just lifting weights that if I smoke a joint and go work out, I'm not as aggressive in the gym and when I'm not doing it. You know, anybody that do dope, once you do dope, you don't want to do nothing. So you get your kids to be a little pothead at a very, very young age, then it take away their aggressiveness to do. Nothing wrong with her smoking pot. My mother never drank in front of us. I think a parent should not try to be a child friend, but more or less be a child leader and teacher.
So you don't think Wendy should be smoking the gimmick with her son?
No.
No. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Lack of motivation in life.
Well, not only that, pot could easily be a gateway drug to other stuff.
Big time, and I agree with that.
It could easily do that. I started off with pot, ended up with cocaine, so it can be a gateway drug. She should study the effect of pot first before she introduces it, do it with her kid. Some people feel it's best to do it with them than without. But
I couldn't imagine wanting to smoke marijuana with the kids.
No.
I wouldn't know. I've never done it either way, but I mean, I could not imagine saying, Come on, kids, let's light
I
one.
think,
let's
yeah,
light one up.
I think all that stuff should be private. There's certain things that parents got to keep private for the kids. Just like there's certain things kids should get private. Now I know my mother has sex with my dad. That's how I was born, but she never did it in front of us.
You would hope.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and my dad would go out to the bar and have a few drinks. I knew he had been drinking, but I didn't see him drinking.
He
And
get it
that's
away
why
from
we
the
grew up
home.
with respect for our parents. By her doing that, he's going to lose respect for her. He's going to look at her as one of the guys, one of the boys, one of his buddies.
Yeah.
And then she's going to lose all her authoritarian stuff with her. It's a slippery slope because, like I say, it's legal. Alcohol is legal too, but you want to get drunk with your kids? You know, it's certain things that we have to keep among ourselves. You don't have to share everything with your kids that you do. You know, tell them what need to be told, do what need to be done, but don't, you know, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just something I wouldn't do.
You wouldn't do it.
I
Well,
just
they're
wouldn't do
asking
it.
for your advice.
Even now, because I know little kids see me on TV, and if I'm in a restaurant or the bar or something, and a little kid come up and want an autograph, if I got a beer or something on the table, I would take that beer off the table and I put it on the table.
Respect.
Well, I don't want that kid to see me drink. That kid look at me as a hero.
Right.
So when the mother come and try to tell the kid, don't do this, it's bad for the kids. Well, Tony Atlas do it. So I'm not hip. I'm making it's harder for that parent to teach the kid the right way. So parent's job is to teach. If she want to smoke pot, do it, but don't do it in front of your
with
kid.
them.
No.
All right. Tony, I'm going to try and make it through
No,
this.
they 30 or 40 years old, and that's different. They grown.
Yeah.
They grown there, you know.
I'm going to try and make it through this next one, Tony. I almost think that this individual might need our one of our director, Matt Socks. An anonymous email. It said, Tony, my wife absolutely hates Halloween and has tried to get kids to stop coming every year. She would shut the house lights off, but the car would get egged by teenagers late at night. In 2018, she gave out individual packets of Quaker Oats oatmeal and hoping the kids would skip our house, but they came back last year. Will the virus stop kids from coming this year? What kind of candy do you give out? Now, this is a woman that gave out packets of oatmeal to try and get these kids to stop coming. At what lengths would you go to realize that maybe this is a lost cause?
Well, this is a free country.
Yeah.
She got a right to celebrate what she want to celebrate and not what she celebrate. The kids that egged her car have bad parenting. That's bad parenting. When a child don't get what he wants and he decides to damage property, them kids to me are no different than the protester painting and tearing up them buildings. We don't like it when they do it to these buildings. I don't like it when you damage somebody's car. The egg could damage the paint. There's a lot of stuff the egg could do to that car. It could get down in between the door and everything. It cause damage. You know, you got all that computer work.
Financial damage.
Yeah, financial damage. Just because she don't want to celebrate and give your little brat a piece of candy, don't give you the right to vitalize this lady. Yes, she got a right, and the husband should stand with his wife. She stand with him, with his stuff. Men, us guys, we have to learn how to stand with our wives. This is what your wife wants.
Yeah.
Them kids don't live with you. They're not your kids. And you should go around and find out, and put a camera. No, I would put a camera up there, what she would do. And for every kid that did that, I would have them over in the morning washing that car.
Report it to the police, maybe.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I would go to the parent, the parents of the child and say, your child has no right to vandalize my car. Every American got the right to celebrate what they want to celebrate. And because they don't want to go along, don't want to go along with what I want, I don't have the right to vandalize you or to cause any of your property any type of damage. He should not be worrying about his wife. His wife ain't doing nothing wrong. She's doing what she feel that she's happy with.
She just doesn't want trick-or-treaters.
She don't like trick or treat. She don't like Halloween. I don't like Halloween, so I'm with her on that. But what the husband should be more worried about, instead of his wife and how she feels, he should be more worried about these kids. Because if they throwing eggs at her house because they don't get what they want, they're gonna be throwing rocks at their house when they get older, because it's something mentally wrong with a child that will attack another person just because they don't get what they want. That's a serious problem. He's looking at in the wrong picture. He's looking at his wife. You should look at them kids. If they do that to your property, and you being a husband supposed to protect your wife and property, you're not a good husband.
Tony, do you think maybe
you let them do that to my house, I'd be at their house.
Do you think they went a little too far giving out individual packets of Quaker Oats oatmeal?
No.
I've never heard of someone giving out oatmeal.
What? Look. My mother had an old saying. This is what my mom used to say. What kids do when they go around and get the candy? They're bagging, right? My mother said baggers cannot be choicy. See? Y'all not focused on the damage. Them kids gonna grow up to be hoodlums. They're hoodlums.
What do you think these kids did with the oatmeal?
Yeah, but you see, them kids, my mother had another old saying, if I can get you to stop laughing. That's cute at 2, but not at 20. If they not learning how to respect people's property at that age now, there's nothing funny about that. Them kids, when they become grown up, they're gonna do the same thing, but they don't get their way.
You think even though it was oatmeal, they should respect
I think you are trying to draw the focus to the wrong thing. The focus should be on the kids.
I'm just going by the question.
I understand, but you keep going back to what the woman did with the oatmeal, but you're ignoring the big thing. The big thing, they damage your property. How much what the average car cost? You talk about a $50,000 car, brother. Screw the freaking oatmeal. This is a $50,000 car that these little shithead of a brat is throwing eggs on and getting away with it. And the woman is taking all the heat for what the kids is doing. She didn't egg the car.
Do you think maybe there are communities that should come up with plans for folks that don't want to do trick-or-treat?
No, I think it's a community that parents should raise their kids to be respectful to people, even if they get candy or not. I didn't throw eggs at somebody because they didn't have nothing to give or they don't want to celebrate. No. There's a lot of people that don't want to do what I want to do. I'm not going to egg somebody because they don't want to go to the gym with me, or vitalize somebody because they don't want to lift weights with me, or look down on people because they don't want to get stepped on. Is these kids, but what they're not looking at, what I saw in there is how them kids are. They've shown you if they don't get their way, what they would do. So 10 years now, them same kids, if somebody don't stop them and they don't get their way, they're gonna be shooting at her house.
There's gonna be bullets. Right.
There's gonna be bullets instead of eggs. Yes. If you don't stop it now, these are bad kids to do that. That's horrible for a child to vandalize a person's property and the parents sit back and laugh and think it's a freaking joke.
Over a 10-cent piece of candy.
Over a piece of candy.
Yeah.
A $50,000 car you're going to vandalize over a piece of 10 cents candy.
I'm sorry I found the oatmeal part so amusing, but I've never heard of it before.
I don't see my mother used to have always say, fuck the dumb shit.
All right, Tony, this is I'm interested to see your opinion on this one. Tony, what do you do with a daughter's useless boyfriend? When the quarantine began, my wife and I reluctantly moved my daughter's lazy boyfriend for an undetermined period of time. We want our daughter to be safe and healthy, but every night he waits to be served meals and never helps with the dishes or contributes to the cost of the food. At night when we're relaxing watching TV, he goes to her room to wait for her to be alone, and we can hear noises late at night. What can we do to keep our daughter safe without risking her leaving if we toss the bum? We might need you to come over and body slam him. Signed, Mr. Gradowski in Everett.
It's too late.
Now, what do you mean?
They had a chance to raise her properly and they didn't.
So it's her fault she chose a bum?
No. It's the parents' fault for raising their daughter not to respect the wishes of the parent. That's what happens when parents try to be their friend instead of trying to be their parent. That daughter is disrespecting their mother.
By allowing it.
That daughter is threatening mother, I will leave you if I don't get my way. Go right back to the kids with the candy again. That's what we did to our kids. We spoiled them. We became their friends instead of their parent. I would never take a woman in my mother's house. I wouldn't disrespect my mother home that way. I would not do that. We was raised not to do that. We was raised to respect our parents' home, to respect our parents. That daughter had absolutely no respect. They looking at the boyfriend. The daughter chose them. The daughter chose him. So if they kick him out, she's going to get another one just like him. She has no respect for her mother because her mother and her parent spoiled the hell out of her when she was young. My mother said, you make your bed, you have to lie in it. The only thing going to change that girl, she's going to go through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment. That girl is going to be in her 30s before she learned her lesson because she can't learn it from her parent. They had their chance to teach her properly. When you allow a child, when the first time they let that boy stay there the first night, it was all over.
Do you think
they open up Pandora's box? You can't put the lid back on. There's nothing to do now. The daughter have to learn on her own now.
Should they have set down ground rules before we moved in?
Too late.
But should they have?
Yes, they should have, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. They did not teach their daughter to be a respectable young lady. They let her have her way. It starts with this. I said it 1,000 times. You sat at a table with a 3-year-old child. You turn to that 3-year-old child. What do you want to eat? Stupid. What in the hell a 3-year-old know? And you asking a 3-year-old what they want to eat? You're not smart enough to know how to teach that kid what is properly for to eat. That's why over 30% of teenagers are diabetic. That's why.
What's the percentage?
About 40% of America is obese.
40%?
Of Americans are obese.
Really?
Look at all these little fat kids running around here. Come on, Dad, you're not blind.
In the control
Come
room.
on, everyone you see has got the little love handle, all got that baby fat all over them. Lazy as hell, don't want to do anything physically, never did a hard day's work a day in their life, won't clean their room, won't do no chores around the house, mother busting their ass, their father busting their ass, kid laying around playing freaking video games all day long, mother buying them everything they want, you know, ungrateful little brats. But they raised them. It's not the child's fault. It's not the daughter's fault. They raised her that way. They may have talked to her, but they didn't allow it to happen.
At this point, if you were the dad, would you toss the boyfriend?
It's too late. The girl gonna leave with him. It's too late. She old enough to have a boy. How old is she anyway?
They didn't give an age.
Yeah. Any parent that let their daughter date under the age of 16 should be ashamed of themselves.
Oh, I agree with that.
You should be ashamed of yourself. If she under 16, that family should be ashamed of themselves to raise that girl to be a little slut.
Well, I can imagine they did write at night when we're relaxing, watching TV. He goes to her room to wait for her to be alone.
Why do you let another man live in their house?
And we can hear noises.
Why would they do that? That is stupid. Why would you let another guy lay in your house? He gonna knock her up or give her freaking AIDS or something.
In their house.
In their house.
Almost like At Your House, the name of our regular show.
Look, if a man is not able to take care of himself, he's definitely unable to take care of anyone else. What if that girl get pregnant? Who's gonna take care of the baby? The grandparent gonna take care of the baby.
Probably, yeah.
Probably. And then if the guy end up being in the penitentiary or something like that, or why you allowing your daughter to be with a scumbag? He's a scumbag, and you allowing it to stay in your house? If a guy come to my house and lay around, I wouldn't let that happen anyway. I wouldn't let that happen.
You wouldn't have let it begin.
It would have never started with me. No freaking way would I let some guy come and lay up with my daughter. If she ain't old enough to be on her own, she's too young to be with him. We got to start spoiling our kids. You can't let a child have everything they want, because then they grow up and they're going to want what they want, and they don't give a red ass what you say. Evidently, the daughter don't care what the parents say. She don't have no respect for their parents. None. Zero. Zilch. But I bet you, if you asked her, what you want to eat, that's where it starts. You're giving the kid authority over you when you ask, My mother didn't ask us nothing.
She told you what you were going to have
That's
for
it.
dinner.
She said, when you get on your own and you're big enough to pay your own bills and take care of yourself, you make your own decision. But while you're under my roof, you go by my rules.
All right, well, Tony, we had one more. Tony, when taking my daily walks, I notice people are not social distancing as they were last spring, getting closer and closer, sometimes not fully covering their faces with masks completely over their face. How do I confront these strangers that we're both at risk of catching the virus?
Leave them alone. They're not going to listen to you. Every person got a suicidal attendant. Just sing flower to their funeral, because they're going to die. Plain and simple. They're going to die. We got 1,000 people a year dying. Because it ain't hit you yet, don't mean it won't hit. 1,000 people a day in this country is dying from this virus. 190,000 people are dead. And you can't change what anybody else do. When I wrote my book, I put in my book, my success in life, I owe to thousands of people. My success. My failure in life, I owe to one person, for I am the captain of my own ship. I can't change what somebody else do. I can only take care of me. And take care of me is a full-time job. But if you see other people that care so little about their neighbor, care so little about themselves, then what you got to say to them is going to fall on deaf ears. They're not going to listen to you. They don't believe in the virus. They don't believe it's deadly. They don't believe they're going to die from it. They don't believe it's going to bother them. So all you're going to do is upset yourself. Let every person live their life the way they live it. Because if you try to intervene, only thing going to happen is they're going to turn on you and attack you. It's kind of like a policeman told me one time. He went to this house and the boyfriend was beating the crap out of his girlfriend. So the policeman jumped on the guy and the policeman got into a little struggle. Well, the girl jumped on the police too. So that cop could not help this woman from being abused by her husband.
Her own worst enemy.
A lot of times we are our own worst enemy. And it was another thing that my dad taught me. You can't argue with stupid. Once you find out a person is stupid, don't try to argue with them. And it takes a smart man to play dumb, and it takes a dumb man to play smart. And I meet young people, ain't even fully grown yet, been on earth 20 years or less. They would argue with me on life that I live. They wasn't even born during that time. But they're going to put up an argument. They stupid. So I talk to them the best I can, but you can't force a person to learn if they don't want to learn. We got the greatest education system in the world, in the United States. You send 10 kids to school, maybe 3 of them kids come out learning something. Maybe 3 come out learning nothing. But that's that child's choice. That child don't want to learn. This child want to learn. You got the same teacher that always say, oh, it's the school, it's the teacher. No, not. It's your kid. He don't want to learn. How can Johnny learn, Susie learn, and Mike learn nothing? And they're all sitting in the same classroom. Mike don't want to learn. Mike's parents taught him, you don't have to listen to the teacher. You don't have to listen to the doctors. You don't have to listen to the media. This is the dumbest thing over here in my life. The media report what happens. It already happened. What, you want the media not to tell you nothing? You want to be put in a freaking cave where you know nothing? We already consider some of the dumbest people on earth. I mean, nobody look at America as being smart. We never have been the tower of intelligence to no country. We got more uneducated people in America than any civilized country in the world because we have to pay for our education. There's more educated people in Canada than are in America because we got more stupid people in America than we got smart people. Look at all that we do. We're not the smartest people in the world. We may think we're smarter than everybody else, but we're not. What we rank in math and science, like 28 or something? I mean, our kids can't compete with the other kids in nothing. Look at kids come from the Orient. They outdo us left and right. You got people raised up in this country, live here their whole life, have every opportunity, got nothing to show for it. Another kid come from Africa, ain't never had nothing. All of a sudden, he got his own convenience store.
Yeah.
And they would say, well, because the government, no, the government gave him the same opportunity gave you. The only thing different between him and you, he took advantage of it. You talk about, oh, illegal immigration, they're coming here taking all the jobs we don't want to do. In order for somebody from Mexico to come and take a job here in America, that job first got to be vacant. If somebody were working that job, the guy from Mexico couldn't get it. We got to raise our kids to know the importance of education, to know the importance of world knowledge. Most Americans know nothing about the rest, anything outside the United States. They know nothing about Canada. They know nothing about Europe. They know nothing about Mexico. Nothing about nothing. Just their own little environment. And what really gets me, and when people tell me this, well, President Trump did more for black people than any president ever lived in the world.
And what do you think?
Right.
What do you think he did?
I'm black. They telling me this.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
What did he do?
That's the big question. What? He ain't. It's just words. But people believe it. They believe it. You see what I'm saying? Because they stupid. You can't argue with stupid.
No.
Once you meet a stupid person, they man are made up. They man are made up to believe the way they want to believe. You could hear somebody say something, and then they say, well, he said it. Well, no, he didn't. Well, he mean this, or he meant that. No, he didn't mean what you said. He meant what he said. I see it all the time. They try to change what a person say into their thoughts. No, if they come out of that person's mouth, that's what that person believes. That person is not going to say nothing they don't mean. And while you try to brush it up, clean it up, and make it something else, you just make yourself look stupid. We need to, the thing that have never been pushed in this country since I was a young'un is education. You remember how we said here, we talk about wrestling, we talk about football, we talk about sports, we talk about politics, we talk about everything but the power of education. There was a time in this country where black people will refuse education. Why is that? Why they refuse black people to learn? What was it so much about learning that we couldn't have that ability? The reason that they didn't want us to have that ability in the olden days because education is power. It ain't the guy with the biggest arms or the best bench press. It's the guy that got the best degree. It's the guy that got the education. They're going to be the guy that's going to run this world in the future. Well, when my dad, he didn't have no education. He had a 6th education. Yeah, but that was in 1940. That was in 1950, 1960. You're not living in your father's time. Well, them days are gone.
What do you think right now, Tony? One of our techies in the back, Griff Garrison, he right now is just started college freshman. He is going to the campus one day a week, and the rest of the week it's all online. Do you think that's difficult for these kids?
A little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing.
Like the kids that got oatmeal
at least
for Halloween.
How you pursue your education is unimportant. How you get to the end of the tunnel is unimportant as long as you get there. He's doing what is necessary to do right now. It may not be the way he wanted it to be. It may not be the way that it should be. But it is what it is right now. He could make the excuse, he could use the coronavirus not to do nothing. But he chose to go to one day a week and do the rest of the work on the computer. There's nothing wrong with that. If
well, the school chose it.
Well, it still is nothing wrong with it because at least he's doing it. Now, if he go home and mess around and don't do what he's supposed to do on the computer, that's on him.
Could be like that guy in the first question we had.
Yeah, that's on him. Yeah, we all got opportunity to be successful in this world. There is nobody in America that had been denied the opportunity to be successful. No one. We make our own decision. We are the captain of our own ship. You can decide to be a success and work hard and make something out of yourself, or you could not. But the world had got to the place now where we all looking for someone else to take care of us. We're all looking for somebody to do for us. We had lost the ability to do for ourselves. In the Bible now, I didn't write it, self-preservation comes first. The law helped those who help themselves. A man must work by the sweat of his brow. And I didn't write none of that.
You read it.
And that's how we should be as men and as women, because now it's not just a man's world anymore. It's a human world. Man, woman, black, white, Asian, and Spanish work in this great country to make this country great. It's not no one race of people or no one gender that make America great, that have made America great, and never have been that way, and never will be that way. Nobody could do it alone. We all need help from each and every American to make the country great. Your neighborhood is not a great neighborhood if your house is the only house on the block that is taken care of. If all the houses around your block fall down, your neighborhood goes with it. The value of your home goes with your neighbor home. If your neighbor don't keep up his property,
It affects you.
it affects you too. So if you got crime, like I listen to them, they talk about the Democrat state, the Democrat-run state. Well, ain't them Democrat, they're not Americans no more. They're not our concern. We criticize them, but what in the hell are the people that criticize them doing to help them? If you're not doing nothing to stop the violence in the street, if you're not doing nothing to stop the protesting, shut the hell up.
Fair enough. All right.
I could sit here all day long and criticize people, but what I'm doing personally to stop it, I'm using the crime in the street to vitalize them, to tear them down, to make them look bad. Why? Because they're not a part of my party. But then if the same stuff goes on in my neck of the woods, I'm going to ignore it. Because I don't want bad publicity in Florida, because Florida is ran by the Republic, for God's sake. Let's not talk about how many people die in Florida every year. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about the crime in Florida, but let's talk about the crime in Portland, Oregon. Because the Portland, Oregon, they're not Americans no more.
All right. Well, Tony, we're running out
The
of
Republicans are not Americans, the Democrats. So what we should do, get rid of that united.
We're just states of America.
There's no more united. Erase that.
We're the SA.
Erase the United States of America, USA. Take the U away. Because to the rest of the world, they see everything in America but unity.
All right. Well, Tony, those are interesting closing thoughts. I found this episode interesting, not typical wrestling talk.
And I hope I didn't piss nobody off.
Well,
but
or
you asked me.
Maybe pissing in Mr. Keen's sink.
You asked me.
That was the first episode. If you have questions, maybe once a month we could try and do an Ask Atlas. I think it's kind of fun to see your unique views of the world, whether we're talking about husbands that urinate in sinks or women that give out packets of oatmeal to try and keep trick-or-treaters
Or
away.
kids that violate people's property.
There you
That's
go.
the important part that you're missing.
For the Hall of Fame of Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, I'm Dan Marati. If you have questions for future episodes, send us an email. It's in the graphic below, bw@bostonwrestling.com. We might be able to get your question on the air from the mind of WWE Bodybuilding and Life Hall of Famer.
No, you made a mistake.
What did I mean? What?
You said a man. I don't have one.
The what?
There's nothing up here.
Oh, don't say that. There's more, as Bill Eadie says, there's more than you know.
Yeah, if you can find it.
If you can find it.
I'm going to tell you something that you didn't know.
Let's hear it.
All right. They were selling brains. They had President Obama's brain. They wanted $500 for it. They had President Trump's brain. They wanted $500 for his brain. They had Tony Atlas' brain. They wanted $5 million.
And why is that?
That's what the guy asked. They said, how come Tony Atlas' brain costs is more than 2 American presidents?
It's so rare?
No. What the guy told him, that was selling the brain, he said, that's easy. It ain't been used yet. It's still in the box.
Yeah, it's a virgin. There you go.
It's still in the box.
It's almost like one of John Cena Sr.'s pieces.
Oh, there you go.
Talk about a happy Halloween. All right, folks, as we knock over the table for Tony Atlas.
Tony
and
Atlas
Marty,
baby, brand new, still in the box. Ain't been used yet.
we got the Patreon, we got the eBay, we got everything going on thanks to Matt Degnan, the Prodigy, Gabe Garrison, whatever his name is, I forget. He's got so many G's. With his hoodie that he came in wearing to try
they were gonna
disguise himself.
Hey, did you
What's
know
that?
they were going to give me a blood test? I stayed up all night to study for it.
And you failed.
Yeah,
There
they
you
told me if my IQ was 1 point less, I'd be a banana.
All right, well, we're going to see you in the produce section, I guess. All right, we'll see you next time, folks. Good night. All right, let's have you call this old Mark, and then we're going to get this thing ready for the Cornish Cure kids, and then we're going to go.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Los Angeles Sports Arena in Los Angeles, California, Monday, March the 16th, 1987, where Entertainment Tonight was filming highlights and interviews to air before WrestleMania 3. In the opening contest, Outback Jack beat Frenchie Martin. Jacques Rougeau with the win over Bob Orton via disqualification. Blackjack Mulligan defeated Nikolai Volkov. The Iron Sheik victorious over Nick Kininsky. Raymond Rougeau battled Don Morocco to a time-limit draw. Hercules beat the Rebel Dick Slater, and in the main event, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Tito Santana, and Blackjack Mulligan, who replaced the Junkyard Dog, defeated WWF Intercontinental Champion Macho Man Randy Savage, Adrian Adonis, King Harley Race, and Butch Reed in an elimination match in Piper's farewell in Los Angeles before retiring at WrestleMania 3. If you were in LA live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
MJ in the house.
Future WWE Hall of Famer, mind you. Let me tell you this.
I'm not in there yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
But you will be.
Yeah, I will.
You know Sean wants to be the first three-timer.
Three-timer,
yeah.
yes.
There you go. Let me tell you, you enjoy the in-studio shoot interviews 4 times a week. It isn't cheap to put these productions together, folks. We need your
No,
help.
because they got to pay me.
Okay. Coronavirus has killed the nightlife in a lot of ways. We are night owls, Marty and I, but that's a different story for a different time. One way you can help is to check out the great merchandise we have in the Boston Wrestling eBay store. It is perfect for any wrestling man cave or any collection.
That's right. Check it out.
Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. At Survivor Series, it was champion versus champion as WWE champion Drew McIntyre battled Universal champion Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Get this 11x14 poster autographed by all 3 men. Limited edition, number 42 of only 50, with authentication hologram on the back of the poster itself. Comes with a mystery autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back. As usual, Tony is a man full of answers, even about oatmeal. We had a few laughs taping that episode. Hopefully we'll have more Ask Atlas episodes in the future. Take a little bit of break from wrestling now and then. Up next, in the On Deck Circle, baseball season is around the corner, so I can throw that one out there. On the On Deck Circle, It's Wrestling Insider Special Edition. We do the premiere every Wednesday night at 10 p.m., and we have rotating guests, rotating superstars, rotating legends. This week, the Native American Tatanka returns to MWF Studios, reshoots on Survivor Series 1991, a young Undertaker, some of his early matches with Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase, comparing the WWF to the 2020 WWE, and so much more. Let's check it out. It's time for the Native American Tatanka.
Wrestling fans, we hope we find you well wherever you may be, whether it be around the corner here in the zip code of Champion 02176, or like some of our great fans halfway around the world. We got them in England and Australia that tune in during the premiere. They chat to my right with their thoughts about the show. It's always a lot of fun, even though not all of our episodes are live for the fans to watch, like when you were with us back on December the 12th. We do have premieres that go along with the episodes, so we can get that instant feedback from the fans that join us. If you could, share the link on your social media, tell some friends. Let's keep growing what we're doing, because our mission is, along with trying to keep the lights on, is to give professional wrestling legends the platform to come and tell their stories. And in these coronavirus times where there are so fewer live wrestling events, almost none, where there are fewer autograph and Fanfest opportunities, let's keep them working. A lot of these great guys didn't wind up in the plum position that Tatanka has, which is a good place in life. We have Tony, we have Marty, we've had others. You know, they really need the work, and that's why what we do, it pulls on the strings of my heart, so to speak, because since I was broken in as a 13-year-old kid, I was taught that we are a brotherhood. We may disagree, we might not even like each other, but at the end of the day, like we noted on one of the episodes, we should always have each other's back.
Yep.
If you can't count on someone to have your back, they don't belong in the industry.
You can disagree, but don't be disagreeable.
I like that line.
There you go.
I like that line. All right, we're going back to 1991. We are just about on the tip of the iceberg with the Native American Tatanka's television debut after a tremendous series of vignettes taped in Pembroke, North Carolina itself. Longtime fans know how much I love that area of North Carolina because of the live MWF events we've had down there previously. You had big televised win over Skinner. You're on the road working with Skinner and Cato. Take us back to Thanksgiving Eve 1991. Detroit, Michigan, it was Survivor Series. The Undertaker won the WWF World Championship for the very first time. You weren't featured on the pay-per-view itself, but in a very important position in other ways, you were entrusted to kick off the presentation to the live audience with the victory over Cato before the big pay-per-view extravaganza began.
Correct. I remember that. Yeah. You know, it's tremendous when you're sitting here thinking about all that too. People don't understand. Again, 300 days a year on the road. It's hard to remember some of these events, but you always remember the big special events, starting off the WrestleManias. You know, again, I was just happy to be there. I mean, you're at World Wrestling Federation. You got the greatest names in the industry, the greatest names in the business. You know, some people say, well, you know, you want to be on the pay-per-view. Well, when I first heard when I was there, they said, well, you always want to be on main event. Well, you know, you start out on the first match, okay, pulling the curtain, as they say, okay. But then if you do well, which we're going to end up speaking about him, Martel, then you graduate to what's called the popcorn match. And most people say, well, the popcorn match is still not main event. Well, I was taught that your first match was very important. They just didn't put anybody in your first match. They didn't just put anybody to kick the night off either. It's just like us at WrestleMania 9. As I was traveling here, everyone went, man, I just love WrestleMania 9. It was tremendous. And you kicked it off, and it was the first time ever that a WrestleMania started with a title shot. So we kicked the night off. Why did we do that? Because Shawn Michaels and myself had wrestled several different times, and they were all great matches, and the fans were ready for Tatanka to take that belt. So it was great to kick it off because it kicked WrestleMania off with a boom. So same thing there. I would have loved to have been on the pay-per-view, but again, to be able to kick the night off, it's very important because they're depending upon you to get those fans in that mood. Boom! So to be the first one out, it's not like, well, main event's the only guys. Fans are now getting to hear that to be the first match tonight, they have to trust someone to be that first match tonight. If you don't think so, watch WWE for so long with Monday Night Raw. Look, how many times did you see Monday Night Raw, okay, and the group, New Day, would start the show all the time. Why? Because they were exciting.
Yep.
Why? They got all the fans into it. Everyone was excited, and it kicked the show right off. So to be in that beginning position to kick something off is a very important position. But to graduate to the popcorn match is very important too, because your job is to get people back into their seats, to start slow, to get them back into the seat, and then build and kick that second half off. They're ready for the semi-main event, and they're ready for the main event. Guys don't think that way nowadays. Guys want to come out with that first match and be the main event. They want to do everything in that first match like a main event. We actually built the night. We understood about first match, building up, and in the first half, about going to intermission, how important that intermission popcorn match was, and how important is you built to, again, the main event. That's what we did, man. We worked together as a family. If you were coming out in a dark match before, your job was to set that place on fire, because here comes the pay-per-view.
You had to set the tone for the big
You have
event?
to set the tone. So most people look at it and they don't understand our business, but it's very important positions. And also, while you're doing that, they're also preparing you for you to be in that position, that eventually you will be in that semi-main event, or you will be in that main event position. So it all begins somewhere, and that's where you begin.
Well, it was a big event for The Undertaker, certainly, too, to come away with a pinfall victory over Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and that was such a great time for me, too. Meaning I was able to be there when The Undertaker began. I was there at the beginning. I mean, I was there on Mark to see, again, the purple, the black, the gray, the original look that everyone loves. When everyone goes back with The Undertaker, it's always back to that era. When Undertaker didn't talk, all he did was look up and rest in peace. I mean, it was just a great time to see what is now an iconic name in our industry that will be respected and will be part of our history tremendously. And just retiring, but what he's done in this industry, it's great to be part of seeing that begin. I was on the road watching every single night, watching with that dung, and watch that building just mystically, just you could feel it. Oh, you could feel it. And then coming to the ring and how he played that character and just how fans instantly connected to him. It was just tremendous time.
Do you think just anyone could have pulled off being The Undertaker, even with the push the company gave him?
No. I mean, let me just give you a perfect example. Undertaker with the music. Dung, how he'd walk. Dung, boom. He just didn't walk. He was character through the curtain all the way to the ring and all the way back. So remember how you kind of would corner a guy off, step, and get you in the corner finally. Choom! Just how he would corner his prey. How he would be like the predator after his prey.
Michael Myers in
Yes,
Halloween.
and how he would corner you off and be taking those quick steps. Not wrestling quick athletic steps. The Undertaker, the dead man step, the character. That's what got over, not the wrestler Mark Calloway, the character, The Undertaker, and how Undertaker portrayed himself, to take that hat off and to roll those eyes back.
Love that.
Hello?
When he added that, the eye roll.
Of course, that's the character and the hat and everything that he did. The character is what people fell in love with. So could anyone have pulled it off? No. You got to be able to. It's the best thing to tell you. Hanging with Undertaker, you know, he loved that music, AC/DC, good old country boy. But it has to be part of you. Not like he was the dead man, but you have to have that inside to be able to connect so well with a character. Myself, I was easily able to connect easy. I didn't have to play to be a Native American. It's in my blood.
It was you?
My mom and dad, full-blood Native, okay? Ever since high school, You know, they knew me as, even though I wasn't Cherokee, they represented my tribe. Some people called us part of the Cherokee. So even during high school, they were chanting at football, Cherokee Chris Chavis, CCC. They would even have
Really?
it.
Wow.
They would even go Cherokee Chris Chavis in the stands. I was one of the top football players in school. We were state champions in school too. So I believe it has to be in you to play that character that way. Taker had a lot of the characteristics in him.
Soul.
It was, yeah, to be able to play such a great job in a character. Same thing with me. Natives, warriors, didn't back down. Some of the fiercest warriors, if not the fiercest warriors of all time. They were not scared. It was an honor to die on the battlefield. The war paint was so the Creator would see you when you were dead on the battlefield.
Really? See,
Yes.
Never knew that.
War paint in war. We didn't wear it outside of war, in war. So it's, you know, warriors. So you had to portray it. Another reason why I ran to the ring, ran to battle. You always see natives running on horses, not walking. Vince loved that with me, running to the ring. And I can't tell you how many times, even when I came back in 2005, one time I walked to the ring and Vince came at me, "What are you doing? Run to the ring like you've always done." Because, you know, 2005 things had changed.
Yeah.
And trying to get the feel of how the product had changed, he wanted me still running the ring because that's like a native warrior. Boom, running to battle. So I believe to play those great characters, it's got to be part of you. And you guys and ladies out there thinking about getting in this great industry, this awesome industry, pick something that you feel is part of you. It's best to portray something that's easier for you to portray because it's in you.
Those are the people that find usually the greatest success if they do.
Of course, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, yes.
A lot of this show, when the guests are on, it's about perspective, opinion. I'll ask you this one. Do you think Undertaker would have been successful if he had stayed with Brother Love as his manager as opposed to real-life mortician, our buddy here, Paul Bearer?
Paul Bearer, all the way. All the way, all the way, all the way. Paul Bearer, I mean, obviously, Vince McMahon is very smart. And Vince McMahon during that time, all about characters. And, you know, he still is. It's just wrestling has changed. You know, the wrestlers out there have changed, you know. Unfortunately, they're not looking to come out in a full bore character, you know, like the Berserker, a Viking, you know, with everything, you know. They're huss and everything they're doing. You know, it was perfect to put Paul Bearer with him. It fit the character perfect. And rest in peace. And then Paul Bearer had that, I won't say that eeriness about him, but he had that mystique. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. You know, he just added to the character, the success. That's the reason Undertaker always gives props to, again, Paul Bearer, because he was so much part of the Undertaker character and the success of the Undertaker. Definitely Paul Bearer.
And that's not a knock against Bruce Pritchard, who's
No,
a
not
great
at all.
friend of the show. I don't know if you're familiar with the success of Bruce's podcast.
Of course, yeah.
But when he's done some of his live podcasts, I've actually emceed and opened for Bruce. So I think the world of Bruce Pritchard. He's been a big help to our toy drive in the past. I just don't think if you were going to look at a 30-year span, having Brother Love attached at the hip of Undertaker would have been successful as Paul Bearer. Just different kind of characters.
No. I mean, Brotherly Love would be like with Cactus Jack when he the piece.
Dude Love. Yeah.
Dude Love.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But for the Undertaker, Paul Bearer, and it's someone who is truly in the industry, a mortician, truly part of the perfect fit. You can't get a fit no more perfect than that. And Paul Bearer and he understood things. He understood things that helped him. You know, some of the little things that you don't get to hear, like when Vince wanted to have a casket by ringside. Paul Bearer would tell him which one to get.
Right.
What was the nice ones?
Expertise.
The ones that were really nice, that looked nice. He knew exactly which one to tell Vince to go get. You know, so that expertise really helped the character of the Undertaker. Paul Bearer, 100%.
And even, I don't know if it had wrapped up by the time you were there, but even the interview segment that he did, the funeral parlor with all of those eerie lights.
Oh,
and,
yes.
Caskets. I mean, that was, and I was probably maybe in middle school around that time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Even at that age, that was spooky.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah, but that's what Vince loved. Again, Vince has this thing that he does, meaning that shot, that TV shot, just like here. That TV shot on that camera. Vince was always looking for that. And what a great, look at the stage, like you just said. What a great stage. for Undertaker to come out, that's what your audience is seeing. That's what they're feeling. And that's what was so tremendous about that time. Everything that we did, I could feel it. I feel the goosebumps all over me because the charisma and the energy and what was portrayed on the camera would actually filter right into people's living rooms.
My gosh, I remember the one they did. I think it was shortly before your debut. It was the spring of '91 after WrestleMania. But when they locked Ultimate Warrior in the casket and all the agents came out,
yes, of
trying
course,
to pry it open so Ultimate Warrior could breathe.
Yeah, of course.
They finally found the kryptonite to the Ultimate Warrior. He's gasping for breath. Then a year or so later, when you were in '92, when they decided to go baby with Taker because he was so over. And Jake Roberts shut the casket on his hand.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And Jake's taunting him, and Undertaker's like, Michael Myers trying to walk with his hand in the casket.
Of course.
Oh, I mean, that's the magic that's missing today.
The magic. That's it right there.
And it's too bad because they're such great athletes.
That's it.
They just don't have that.
You got great athletes. You can't take away from the guys that are doing tremendous things that you never seen guys do in the squared circle. But again, you can't change history. And history has been phenomenal with the 80s and 90s and the storylines and the characters. Most important, again, as you said, as this show goes worldwide, I go everywhere worldwide still today. This upcoming year, I'm already going into Canada, UK, events already booked. I don't care where I go, Germany big. All they loved is WWF. Don't talk about it. They'll come to your table and won't talk about the John Cenas. They won't talk about the Randy Ortons. Great superstars have done tremendous things. They go back to the 80s and 90s all the time. And you can actually see the fan base actually light up when they start talking. They actually light up. You could see they were there. You could see they were part of it. It's just there was a connection that we had then.
And I love WWE. I love a lot of the people in WWE. A lot of the wrestlers there have come through our promotion. Friends with a lot of office people that I got to meet through the time I had with Ed Cohen and such. I'm a proud WWE stockholder.
Yeah. Oh, but, cool.
Sometimes I wonder, it's just a company that is so smart, that has had so much success. Right now, you look at, especially pre-corona, television ratings are in the gutter. Network subscriptions are down. Merchandising is down. Live event attendance was down. When you have a network of so much greatness, why don't you go back and see, now, wait a minute, what was going on in the 80s and the early 90s during that boom? How can we modernize that in 2020? When you look at the Attitude Era, okay, you're not going to go over the top again with a publicly traded company with bra and panty matches.
Of course, exactly.
But what can we take from that Attitude Era that was so successful and modernize it in 2020, as opposed to presenting a show every week that, again, it's nothing personal against the athletes in the ring. I think it is, while certainly not the size and the look of danger that your era presented, probably the greatest group of athletes we've ever seen at one time on one roster as far as what their bodies can physically do, but just not the interest in the fan base, a large enough number of them wanting to see it compared to yesteryear. I just think at some point you would look at those great bodies of work when there was so much success, when you had a roster where everybody was over.
Everybody was over.
Bottom. Everybody was over.
Well, again, everyone was. The difference was everyone was unique. No one looked like each other. So everyone was a superstar in their own right. No one walked out like the Bushwhackers. No one.
No one.
Do you know how many times I've heard about Luke Bushwhacker? I've seen it on camera. I can't remember exactly what Royal Rumble it was, but he walked down.
Yep.
He went
Jumped
in the
right
ring,
over,
stormed right out. He was in 1 second, and he went right back like this. And fans remember that.
Yeah.
He didn't win. He didn't win the belt. He didn't win the Rumble. But they remember how he walked and got in the ring and just stormed right out the other side, and he walks right back all the way.
It was a 6-second spot in a 60-minute match.
Absolutely.
And 30-plus years later, it's remembered.
And it's remembered.
And you want to know something?
Crazy.
They tried to replicate it by eliminating someone even quicker in a more recent Royal Rumble.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you the year or the wrestler. But I remember the one with Bushwhacker Luke.
How
Like
do we
that.
remember? What do we remember?
Yeah.
Why can't we talk about something? Say
It's nuts.
Again, we can't go back to things that you've seen in that Attitude Era. I agree. And again, Vince's went with Mattel. Everything had to be PG.
Sure.
But also PG has brought more money to the company because of sponsorship. Okay. And Vince was like that before. It was all PG in the 80s and 90s. I just think that, again, a lot of talent out there in the ending of the 90s when guys came out of their character, okay? And then another thing you got so many guys that go by their regular names or a little twist of their regular names. Nobody. Yeah, when I started, I was War Eagle Chris Chavis, but guess what? I'm really Native American. The Chavis is a strong bloodline of the Lumbee, Chavis and Lockalear. So I could come in with my regular name. But all of us had character names. We weren't known as Chris Chavis, what we're known as Tatanka. Not known as Mark Calloway, known as The Undertaker. Paul Bearer, not Percy, Paul Bearer. That's how everyone is remembered. So again, it's just I'd love to see them. Fans are begging for that. To see that mix of all of that come back. Seems like it'd be so easy to do, but I think so many talent is so programmed on the wrong thing. Like we're talking on an earlier episode about who should you look for training. They're getting programmed wrong by people who really don't know what is the right thing. And then you get the few guys who are hitting it big, like Randy Orton, but who was he taught by? His dad.
Great man.
Great. So he has that old school era, knowing about when to do something in the ring at the right time. Being the Viper.
Those little nuances.
The little nuances, boom, that look and turn and boom. All the things, it's the little things in this business that make you the great superstar you are.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think there are more fans right now of professional wrestling that don't actively tune in to weekly wrestling shows than there are that do. I think there's millions of fans out there craving for something like there was in the 80s.
They talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, they're craving it. Everywhere I go. And again, if you don't believe that, then here's a simple proof. Why is one of the most smartest geniuses? Why does he have Hacksaw Jim Duggan, against Sergeant Slaughter, Jimmy Hart, Tatanka, all these names on Legends contracts? You think Vince is just putting us on contract just for no, because there's value there.
Yeah.
Not only does he sell out of all the merchandise he does, but part of the WWE network. They know how much all of that stuff is viewed.
Oh, they should.
Oh, they know exactly.
You've seen how those royalty checks are broken down
And of course,
to a tenth of a penny almost.
Of course. So, and it also, it's just tremendous that time, man. It was so special, not only the characters, but there was some great storylines during that time. Again, Sergeant Slaughter, Hulk Hogan. When Sergeant Slaughter was the heel, what heat did he have?
Saddam Hussein's buddy.
Where do we see heat anymore? Like, where do you see that you really cannot stand the bad guy? I ain't talking about Razor Ramon, the bad guy, the villain. When do you really see heat that people cannot stand and they want to see that guy defeated? You don't see that anymore. That's very important to have that heel that has that heat, because it takes that baby face and makes him even stronger and puts the fans behind him even more strong. Again, you get right back to the basics, the Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Rocky Balboa, Mr. T. Hello? Mr. T, arrogant, villain, attitude, talking stuff to Rocky's wife. I bet you'd like to have a real woman. You know, and then fired up Rocky. Get ready. You want to fight? Real storylines. It meant something, but it gave more power to the baby face too. When you had a great heel, it empowered even the whole storyline even more. So yeah, it would be great to see that. Fans would love to see that.
And what's crazy is we're talking about all these negative things about WWE in 2020, but it's at a time when the company is more profitable than it's ever been before in its existence.
Exactly.
Imagine how profitable it would be if they could find a way to bring that fan base back, to reinvigorate that fan base that's left wrestling right now just because there's not something that they resonate with for whatever reason. It's limitless, the money that could be coming in.
And to say it in a simple form, when I was looking to go to World Wrestling Federation, and I knew that the door was already opening and I was going there, or my ideal of going there. When I watched him on Saturday morning TV, one of the automatic things that I knew, without a shadow of a doubt, who am I going to play? Who am I going to portray? Automatically, I knew there had to be a character. In that day, there wasn't like just showing up in my boots and tights. You weren't going to be nobody special. You know, that was all the extras. And they were very important, but that was the extras on TV days who got their butts whipped because we beat the dog crap out of them. Because Vince always wanted TV tight. Those guys got a butt whipping, and those, as they called extras, or would work on talent, enhancements, or whatever you want to say. My God, they'll tell you, they got their butts beat. But when I looked at the industry, it was automatic. Who am I going to portray? What is going to be my character? It wasn't even a choice that I could be a character. You had to be a character to get into the company.
Right.
Now, look at it now. Now it's just, well, I want to be a professional wrestler. That thought is not even there. It's not even there. Well, who am I going to portray? They're just boots, tights, knee pads. I got all these fancy moves. I'm going to be a star at WWE.
Look, not to single anyone out, but look at someone like Seth Rollins, an outstanding athlete that can put together very exciting matches to watch. But as you mentioned, tights, boots, Blackbeard. You know, for a while they portrayed him, instead of being the world champion that just beat Brock Lesnar, they had him as almost the underling to his girlfriend, Becky Lynch at the time, the man's boyfriend, which I thought castrated him. I mean, would you look at Seth Rollins coming down the street and saying, shit, I don't want to mess with that guy?
Of course.
And it's nothing against him. It's just that's him as a human being.
Of course,
but
exactly.
Not only they have this exceptional athlete, but there's no element of danger. So what do you do minus the element of danger? And what they've done is just they've taken a guy and put him in tights and a boot.
Of course. And that's
I think that's why he's never got over to the level as, here's a guy that's a multi-time world champion. I guarantee you this, in 20, 30 years from now, he will not be looked at as highly as mid-card guys from the 80s and 90s.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's disappointing to him.
Exactly. And it just, I can't tell you. I can't exaggerate how many times I've heard this time and time again from the fan base. I mean, time and time and time again. I mean, WWE is phenomenal. They're unbelievable. I mean, look at what they've done. I mean, we've talked about this before. Look what that company has done. Look what they've accomplished in the sports entertainment world. Like you said, right now the profits are off the hook because they don't have all the live events. They don't have all the costs, you know. So
Not only that, it's just with those monstrous television deals they signed with Fox.
Of course.
And their TV deals in the United States alone, I think, are worth $7 to $8 million a week. And that's not even including the rest of the world, and that's just TV contracts.
Of course, TV contracts are tremendous, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, don't forget Raw is 3 hours on Monday night, so it's tremendous. So
there are people I understand that are going to be sentenced instead of going to jail. They have to sit through some of those Raws. They're so tedious sometimes.
Yeah, they're very tedious, yes. Well, it's
tough.
Think about 3 hours of live TV. It's... You know, people say, well, you know, I could do a great job if I was there. You don't understand. Every single week. I think another thing that I won't say that has hurt the industry, but one thing I constantly hear the fan base talk about, and I know myself, we had the opportunity to really build a storyline when you only had the 4 major pay-per-views.
Right. 10
now you got guys, they're trying to mix talent so fast, and they go here and they go to the next pay-per-view, the storyline's over. Now they got to, you know, I think it's made the creative to have to work even twice, 3 times as hard as compared to me. Perfect example. Started with Rick the Model, just my first 5 years I'll run through in a matter of 30 seconds. I worked with Rick the Model Martel for 1 whole year, all over the world before we finally went to the pay-per-view and finished it. Then after that, Bam Bam Bigelow, a whole year all over the world before we finished. Then Yokozuna, Ludwig Borger when I had my first defeat after 2 years. Then IRS when I got the headdress. And then again, when we went to $1 Million Corporation and we turned on Lex Luger. All of them were a whole year storyline. Think about that in today's wrestling. Can you imagine having you wrestling with the same guy for a whole year, all around? Now, we wouldn't do the same matches. We would change it and make it so wherever we're heading, okay, that it made all the sense. Like ultimately, if the heel was always scooting out and getting away from you, scooting out because you were beating the dog crap out of it, like IRS, getting out of there when he had the opportunity, finally they put you in a cage that he can't get away. The storylines, everything meant something. Everything was built up to something. The fans, it made all the sense. It was just a full package.
Consistent chapters to a book.
Of course, you got
Finish
it.
the story.
You got it, exactly.
I think, and it's not just WWE in 2020. I think it's pretty much every major promotion.
Every major
There's
promotion.
two things missing, two P's, pacing and patience.
Of
There's
course.
none of it.
None of it.
And I think that's what a lot of fans miss.
Of course they
They
do.
don't want to have two books read to them in a week. They want a chapter by chapter by chapter. They want it laid out to them.
Can you absorb it all that quick?
No.
No,
or
you can't.
You can't remember it. Like I told you in a previous episode. You pick the month between August of 1986 as a 5-year-old kid and when the building closed in May of 95, almost 10 years later, I could give you the top 4 or 5 matches to every single Boston Garden House show. As a kid, I couldn't tell you more than maybe 1 or 2 matches on this past week's television show. Why doesn't it? I mean, it can't be that bad, can it? But I mean, nothing sticks. Nothing sticks.
Yep, I went back in 2005, and the first thing when I went back and signed a contract for a full booking contract with WWE, part of the SmackDown roster, one of the first people, the agents, one of the first person speaking to me was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Arn Anderson. 2 tremendous names of our industry.
That understand pacing and patience.
Tremendous success in our industry. And like they said, here we are with all the experience and knowledge that we have, and we tell these young guys, and it's like going in one ear and out the other ear. We're always trying to tell them, slow down, slow down. Again, patience. Let the fans absorb. People, it's like, what I noticed when I got there is like, ding, ding. It was like horses out of the gate. And you run until ding, ding again.
Yeah.
It's like you're truly running a race. Where before, man, look what Hogan would do when he would come to the ring. Look what Warrior would have his match just coming out, running to the ring, shaking the rope before the ding ding. That was probably the biggest pop and the most excitement right there. Even Hogan coming out, doing his stuff. Boom, doing his stuff, posing and ripping the shirt off. That was it right there.
The work began from the moment you walked out the curtain to the moment you walked back in the curtain.
Exactly.
Not just when the bell rang.
Exactly.
And I think that's missing too.
Of course it's missing.
And I hate to say it because, again, great group of athletes, but where they're so limited with TV time as far as the bell-to-bell, it's like they try to fit in every wrestling move they know in a 4 to 5 minute televised match.
Of course.
And the selling is a lost art. No one sells anymore.
Oh my gosh, you just
no
brought
one
a great
sells.
thing. People are too. I think no one sells because people are. Well, yeah, the time is a factor. Okay, don't forget we're doing TV, and they have to be done in 5 or 6 minutes for again that advert time because that's where they're making their dollars.
Right,
okay,
yep.
But again, anybody selling. People are scared to sell today, the baby faces, but also you really don't know who the heel and baby faces are most of the time.
No one cheats.
But back in the time, the baby faces would sell. You remember Hogan laying on the mat and then someone stepping on him, he's shaking on the mat like he's totally destroyed. And then finally would crawl up the guy's leg and come to his knees, all of a sudden hit him, boom! All of a sudden, now, boom! Well, here we come. Here it comes. That slow comeback. As I teach kids when I do train, I've done some very successful trainings. If you can't create that magic, I could feel it right then. Just getting ready to start talking about it. You can feel it. You can start feeling. If you can't create it by talking it, you shouldn't be doing it in the square circle.
You know what I think it is sometimes? It's almost like when you watch the shows, everybody wants to have a match akin to WrestleMania every week. Right? Everybody has the 2 7/8 kick out at the last second.
Of course.
And hit 15 different finishes and whatnot.
Of course.
What they're losing track of is that it takes a whole year to get to that moment to have that WrestleMania match when that 2 7/8 kick out really has an impact. When kicking out of someone's finish is memorable to a generation.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Of course. Well, that was something we used to joke with all the time back in the day, but we only did it at the right times where we did the 2 7/8. And when we do it, you could hear 1, 2, ah! You could actually, the crowd would come with it. It's done so many times now, the crowd don't come with it.
You expect it.
You expect it. Here it comes. Oh, yeah, I knew he was going to do that.
Another one that drives me nuts, and again, we're getting way off the track of Tatanka's career in early 1991 and 92, but count-out finishes.
Of course.
Watch the TV show, count-outs could be a finish. What happens when the guys go out of the ring? 1, 2. All right, wrestling fans, we'll be back after this brief timeout.
Exactly.
The match could end from a presentation point of view, and they just act like it's nothing.
Exactly.
You've eliminated that as a potential finish.
Well, they've eliminated
that. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, eliminated him. Well, it makes, let me tell you how, again, perfect example, you just reminded me, again, when I tore up my headdress, I was, the storyline from that point was, I had to turn the volume up, meaning I had to be pissed off. And he was in fear. Okay, meaning when his music hit, people were booing, but when my music hit, they pop. I came running the ring, slide right in. IRS sees me coming. He's going outside the ropes. I grab him by his waist of his pants, and I'm war dancing around him. Shoom, shoom, shoom. Tomahawk, boom! Grab him by his tie. Tomahawk, boom! Rolled outside the ring. You know, staying outside. Me chase him. Back in. Heel stop. But again, the great countouts was when you're just you're getting your revenge, and the referee tries to stop you, grabs you for a second. You come back, he's rolled out. He literally walks. He's had enough. He literally gets to 10 count. You win by the count out.
Right.
But it made sense because Tatanka was teed off. He's going to kill him. He was teed off. You shouldn't have ripped up his headdress. Makes sense. But they missed an opportunity.
And you know what else I'd like to see every once in a while? How about have a match actually end during the commercial break? To make the fan want to tune in and actually say, geez, I don't want to change the channel. This match could actually end during the commercial break. I can't think of any time in ever watching wrestling ever that's happened.
Correct.
But
correct.
Maybe they need us down there.
Yeah.
Well, you're already there. Maybe they need me.
Of course.
It's been a long time since I've been with poor Red Cohen. He was a good man.
Yeah, good man.
I learned a lot from him in a short period of time.
Yes.
Anyway, back to where this topic began. You, Tatanka. I don't know if I'm breaking kayfabe now, but while you did have that tremendous undefeated streak for 2 years on television and pay-per-view across the world, there were some house shows where that didn't always go that way. Thanksgiving weekend 1991, you actually worked a string of matches with a top man and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase across Canada.
Yeah.
Any memories of those matches?
Well, can I tell you who the very first person I worked with when I started WWF? The very first person I worked with as War Eagle Chris Chavis, when they were letting me get to learn the business before making me Tatanka and then going with a 2-year undefeated streak. You're probably talking during that time because the first guy I worked with was $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase.
Oh, was it really?
Him and Sherry Martel was the first match I had.
Really? I didn't know that.
Not TV.
Right. Not
live event. And the reason it was such a pleasure, and I remember it so much, because I tell a lot of kids, you need to be like this. Meaning you need to respect those who've been in the industry, but it's not that. If you're the green guy, you don't go to $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and tell him, well, I can do this, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Telling him what you're going to do. He's $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. He's one of the top stars in WWE. Vince McMahon's had him in that spot all the time. So obviously, if Vince knows he's good enough for that spot, that's in the story. I walked up to Ted DiBiase, I put out my hand, I said, it's an honor to meet you. It's going to be a pleasure to work with you. Tell me what you want me to do. And I shut up.
And let me tell you this, I bet you got a hell of a lot more out of it that way than if
I'm going to tell everyone something right here, now.
Great.
I shut up, didn't say one word. Now, I didn't go over in the match, okay, but Ted DiBiase had me in that ring, and old school way, we didn't have to do like they do today. We didn't have to plan everything. For 2 hours, for a 12-minute match, or a 10-minute match. I got out there, and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, as being the seasoned veteran, called it in the ring. Okay, called it in the ring. So you go to the ring, not know what you're going to do, but you have a guy because of respect of what I did, and because of him being who he is, knowing his position, he shined me at the beginning, made me look like a superstar, then cut me down when it was time for the heel time, and made me fight from the ground up, gave me those hope spots, gave me that comeback, but then finally shut me down and got the sleeper and got the win. But what happened with that, because I didn't tell him what I wanted to do, I went back to the office. You know what he did, Vince? So it's going to be an honor to meet you, pleasure to work with you, tell me what you want me to do. He shut up. I called everything. He didn't tell me what he wanted to do. He did everything I told him to do. You better believe that opened the door for the 2-year undefeated streak, because he was one of the ones that you got to be listenable. And as we're sitting here talking, God gave us 2 ears, and he gave us 1 mouth for a reason. We should always listen more than we talk. You gain wisdom by listening. You gain wisdom by listening.
Unbelievable as we continue to get those cues from the back. One more before we go. $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, great guy we've had here in the studio. It's unfortunate. I don't know if you heard about some of the religious issues that popped up down in Mississippi that we hope get cleared up, because sometimes with social media in these days and ages, they take a sentence and they like to turn it into a book. But I think Ted is just a great guy.
Oh, he's a great guy. Now, I don't know what you're bringing up. We could talk about that later on, but Teddy is a great guy. And not to get off on anything, but everyone needs to understand that faith is not about being perfect.
No, not at all.
It's about believing in someone who's greater than you, that is sinless, and that can help you in your life and wants to help you in your life. So if you're looking for someone to be perfect, there's no such thing as perfect. But Ted DiBiase, just a great guy. All the stuff he does, ever since he proclaimed his faith. I mean, he was running the road in the 80s when wrestling was just like off the hook. I mean, they were doing 3 shows on the road. The A tour, the B tour, the C tour, even me in the 90s. 3 tours a night.
Sometimes even
3 different groups, and they all sold out. Yeah, even a D. All sold out. 3 different shows, World Wrestling Federation, all throughout the United States or internationally or whatever, all selling out, 3 different shows. That's absolutely tremendous. So Teddy was there when the business was just off the hook and exploding. When we did a 15.2 on Saturday night main event, a Nielsen scale rating.
Replacing NBC's Saturday Night Live.
There you go. That's huge. So a lot of success came in, huge, and a lot of partying, a lot of excitement, a lot of celebration happened, which should, because Vince knew right there at that point, it's happened. He took the big risk like I talked about earlier. He put everything into WrestleMania. I have an idea. He told the guys, I'm putting everything I have. If this don't work, we don't have a company. That's risk right there, baby.
That's balls.
That's the reason Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon, and that's the reason WWE is what it is, a worldwide known brand, largest in the world of sports entertainment. So a lot of guys got into partying and all that kind of stuff, but man, Ted is just a great guy, does great work. I don't know what you're talking about, but if it's something, a one-time thing, we're human.
Everybody
we're human.
is.
Everybody's
with
human.
Ted, as far as in his book, in his documentary, he was very open about his infidelities and drug and alcohol problems and whatnot, and it's something people can learn from.
Of course.
People are human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. This is where I was at. This is what happened, and this is how I'm living my life today, and here's all the blessings from that and what has happened. I mean, come on, Ted DiBiase has not only been on contract and part of the Legends deal, but he's a WWE Hall of Famer. And guess what? The only thing that he's done is this. He's not working something else. So guess what? Been a success.
And what would you tell a young Chris Shavers, working these matches as a very, very young guy, that just a few years later, not only would you be working with Ted DiBiase, but he would be in wrestling presentation form, managing and representing you? I mean, talk about one of the all-time greats of that era. Talk about a stamp of approval.
Oh, that's a big stamp of approval. People talk to me, hey, Tatanka, why did you sell out? I mean, I can't tell you that the storyline that everyone brings up, no matter where I go, because they go, Tatanka, I loved you. I had your Hasbro figure. I had your poster on the wall. I had your first T-shirt. I had it all, man. I had covers of you. I had it all. I tore up the covers. I got rid of my Hasbro figure. You got me. Why did you sell out? Why did you sell out?
For them to do that.
And then they look at me and I go, guess what? It worked. And for a second, I watch everybody and they go, oh my God, you're right. I says, it worked. We entertained you. We told a story. And where everyone today goes, I know this is what they were going to do, and that's what they did. You did not think it was going to be Tatanka. There's no one that said, I knew it was going. I've had one person just recently on social media tell me, I knew it was going to be you. I went back to him and said, I didn't call him a liar. I says, no, you didn't. You're the first person I've ever heard that from in my whole career, and no, you didn't. Because it was portrayed so right. I was a hot baby face selling out of merchandise at the time. You know, no one's seen it. Lex Luger had always been heel. It was just perfect, and the storyline was told right. So it was the big surprise. Is that not what we want?
And it
for
wasn't
programming? Is that not what you want to see? Something that surprises you and you go, oh my God, I can't believe that. Don't you want to be entertained?
It wasn't told over the course of 1 3-hour show. It was told over the course of a couple of months.
Of course.
And then once the orgasm finally happened, boom, you're off to the races.
Exactly. And then also what you don't see, I just seen that turn, which was at the Chicago, it was in Chicago at the United Center. We were the first event in that brand new building at the United Center in Chicago. I'll never forget, you know, that how it went silent when they realized, oh my God, Tatanka just turned. And then how they were booing and throwing stuff in the ring and throwing stuff at me. But what I did is, if you go back, I watched and went, oh my gosh, that's how it was done. Because I was taught by Ted DiBiase about when you have that opportunity as a heel, which he was good at, when you get that opportunity, you lay the boots to that baby face. You beat that baby face down so bad that he gets sympathy. You beat him down so bad that those people can't wait to see him come back and destroy you. I gave Lex Luger, if you go back, look at Chicago, I gave him a beating. I mean, I laid it in on him. I gave him like 3, if I recall, 3 into the trails, even the $1 Million Dream, slid out of the ring, slid back in the ring, gave him a beating, meaning worked. Meaning you got your cardio has got to be on. I didn't give him one hit, ooh, you know, look around, one hit and then walk away. I beat the dog crap out of Luger. I mean, I beat him bad. And when I look at it, I go, wow, that's the way, as we would call, setting the heat, being the heel. I'm Mac Daddy.
You were
portraying
a heel.
it.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what you got to do.
You were a lousy human being. You were a miserable character. You were a villain. You weren't just someone that chose to wrestle babyfaces.
There you
like
go.
Nowadays.
Exactly.
Fun. And if fans, if you want to see what Tatanka was actually talking about, you subscribe to WWE Network, tune in to SummerSlam 1994. That's where that angle and match took place. I'm getting the cue from the back. Unfortunately, we're running out of time again. This has been such a great series of conversations and interviews we've been having with Tatanka. We want him to keep on going, but your feedback is essential, because without you guys, we're just talking to ourselves here in a very cold studio sometimes, as Jerry Saggs like to say. If you're watching during the premiere of this episode, the chat is going on to my right. Let us know what you think. We love to interact with you guys. The super chat is always open. Don't forget to tip the bartender, as we like to say, for all the entertainment we try and provide you. And if you're not watching the premiere, same thing. The the message box is below. Let us know, what do you want to hear about? Who do you want to hear about? What events? What memories? What legends? What places? This is a man that has lived it all, done it all, seen it all. For 6 years, he was on top of the world around the globe, with many more memories and legends to come on these episodes. And don't forget, if you truly care and you're like me, passionate about keeping these great wrestling legends working, maybe some that have not done as well as Tatanka after their full-time careers have come to an end, join the Patreon. For less than a cup of coffee over at Starbucks, you get early, ad-free access to every episode, plus our extensive studio shoot interview DVD library. We have a lot of fun. You're all our friends, but we kind of look at the Patreons as the extended family, a little bit more. Some great people. But for our friend, the Native American, the future Hall of Famer, Tatanka, I am Dan Marty. We'll see you next time on Wrestling Insiders. Until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Cambria County War Memorial in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Thursday, March the 17th, 1983. In the opening contest, WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha beat Mac Rivera. Baron Mikel Cicluna with the win over Joe Abbey. Pete Sanchez defeated Bill Dixon. Salvatore Bellomo victorious over Jose Estrada. Superfly Jimmy Snuka beat the crippler Ray Stevens. And in the main event, Andre the Giant and Rocky Johnson defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha and Captain Lou Albano, who replaced Sika. If you were in Johnstown live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the link in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Unbelievable wrestling fans. Tatanka, what a career he had in WWF in the early to mid 1990s, I guess would be the way to look at his tenure there. Undefeated streak for over 2 years on television. A very memorable superstar, to say the least. And then he also had a return in the 2000s that fans talk about. So there's a lot more talk to come up with Tatanka. Many more appearances we'd like to set up with Tatanka. Hint, hint. Of course, the Super Chat is open for business, along with the Patreon, the eBay, and all that great stuff. Don't forget that Wrestle House is also coming up. WrestleMania week, we have the beautiful home in Tampa that we have rented out. We're bringing cases of equipment to the Sunshine State to tape interviews with. We want to try and do live episodes. I don't think Howard is going to be with me to navigate the frustration and hate that flows through my body when we try to set these things up. That remains to be seen. We're going to do some cyber autograph signings and a lot of fun stuff. The non-WWE events, I think, are going to be a flop. WrestleMania week this year, which hurts talent that isn't under contract to WWE. So again, our goal with the Wrestle House is to try to keep wrestlers having an income coming their way. Again, we'll have many more announcements this coming week, and we'll even do some pre-sales over on bostonwrestling.com. Coming up next, it is the Out of Control, no holds barred, sex, drugs, and rock and roll look at the 80s and 90s through the eyes of Marty Jannetty on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. This week, Marty talks about Randy Savage potentially losing the WWF Championship too soon, the post-WrestleMania 5 layoffs, the return of the Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Dino Bravo, and much more. Get ready for Marty.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back as we continue our in-depth look at the great year that was in 1989 in the World Wrestling Federation. Marty, I ask you this as we discussed WrestleMania 5 at great length and some of the superstars
it was great.
involved last
episode.
week. Let me ask you this, where business was so hot in 89. We talked about March 18th, that day where you, March 18th, where you and
March
the Brainbusters were underneath Hogan and Bossman that sold out MSG and the Boston Garden in the same day. 36,000 fans. At the other time, I remember on another loop, Macho and Warrior were doing title for title matches, which came to Boston in February of 89 that year. What are you doing?
I forgot I wore this last week.
Oh, all right. Well,
All right, we can get this right. Let me know if you still hear me, Matt Daddy.
Yeah, we don't want to have any interference like that. But in your, oh wait, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I wore that last week.
All right, well, you attention to detail to say the least. Did you?
And the week before that, I had this on.
And you still have the mic on?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Can you hear me?
All right, good. Do you think it was the right call to take the title off of Macho? Do you think it could have been, the heel turn could have been held off maybe for another year and let Randy continue to run as he was white hot as the champion? Hogan was white hot on his tours.
So much.
Warrior was getting hot on his tours. You had so many top guys that were over at that point. Could there have been a different WrestleMania main event and kept Randy as the champion? I don't know. Would it have hurt business to hold off on giving Hogan the belt again?
I don't know. I think it kind of worked out. At the time it was actually happening, we felt like what you just said. We're like, man, right now? I mean, but then after, was it WrestleMania 7 when Macho dropped like 7 of his finishing, elbows, elbow after elbow after elbow, like one was his finisher. But remember, he was going to finish Warrior off, and he gave him about 6 in a row, and Warrior kicked out. We're like, that should do it. I mean, if you're going to be like an invincible person, and it kind of did. It put Warrior.
Well, I'm talking 1989 now, when Randy was the champion as a babyface.
That's what we're saying. The way they did it, it seemed to. At the time it was actually happening, we all had questions. At the finished product, we're like, oh, okay, it worked. We didn't really understand. A lot of times shit worked and we didn't understand why.
Well, at the end of the day, though, it was one less top babyface he had the headline in those shows.
Right.
You know what I mean? As far as the A, the B, and the C teams go.
Right.
I mean, you had, in the beginning of
But it's like
1989,
they say now in football, next man up.
again, just some loaded shows. You had Hogan headline in one, Savage headline in another, Warrior headlining another. That's a hell of an A, B, and C team.
Do you know that when they did the replacements, when everybody started fleeing, I say fleeing, I think they called it a flush. And now we're jumping up a couple more years. I know I'm off track. But you know, when everybody, they were, what did they call it? Well, they were getting the older guys out of there. I mean, Gene, everybody went to WCW.
Yeah.
They oftentimes, all of us there they didn't tell us. You know what I mean? They didn't come say, hey, we're going to purify it or whatever it's called, genocide, whatever the hell it is. Where we're getting rid of all the old guys. Getting out. Well, they would do things like what you was talking about. They would do things and we wouldn't understand it because they didn't tell us. We'd find out after fact. And at a point, it just kept you happy that you weren't one of the ones that got the boot, or
right?
Not necessarily boot because some of the guys were just getting better. And that was another thing that was so good. I know I'm off subject now, but that was another thing about competition. It's good for the boys because now you got some leverage, some kind of leverage on your contracts, and that's actually when I went to WCW. Oh man, that's something. We'll get to that. Let's go back. I'm sorry because I drift. The ADHD kicks my ass daily. Aren't you glad that I got an orange today?
I'm glad you get your tangerine or whatever that may be.
I don't know what.
But in '89 again, so it was one less babyface, but the Hogan and Savage series grew extremely well. What were we talked about the economics. What were the paychecks looking like in '89 for you?
Well, mine were decent. I don't know what they got.
Well, yeah.
I always stayed away from that. Even today, like when I get guys booked,
yeah,
I don't want to know what. I'll just hook them up.
Yeah.
Like I tried to get you with a New Jack.
I would absolutely love to have that man in the studio.
He had contact you?
Did you give him my contact?
I think I did.
I did get an email from him from when I reached out to him, but I haven't followed up.
Oh,
well, shoot him a text. Tell him we're very interested.
I did. That's what I'm saying. He maybe got offended that you didn't respond to the first time.
I haven't. Like I said, we emailed back and forth, but that was off of his Twitter.
Y'all would love New Jack's interviews.
Oh, he wrestled with us back in 2002, and I really liked him.
No, I love New Jack. That's my boy, man.
Yeah, everybody has different thoughts about different people, but I thought you know what? If you're honest with someone and treat them with respect, I don't know what problems you're going to have.
I saw Tony wasn't happy about him, but I never knew all that shit went on.
Tony doesn't.
Because I
forget
guess
about you. He hates. New Jack.
Yeah, I saw that on the interview, but I guess he handled it professionally. You know,
Tony?
He said something,
Yeah.
and Jack said, "That's just my stick." He goes, "Do your stick with somebody else."
And you know what? Tony's right. I mean, he really doesn't even know the man, and I guess New
I was surprised
I've
because-
never seen the interview, but I guess New Jack has had great fun embarrassing Tony.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
Well, he does an imitation of him, I guess, in different shoot
Like you do,
interviews.
but do your Tony.
I'm not doing that this Thursday night. Party with Marty.
That laugh.
Dan Morello, I need my chicken wings.
Do you think that laugh is exaggerated or is real?
No, it's real. Yeah.
How the hell did he
Because
come?
it just in socializing with them, I've heard that laugh.
Well, then when he was a kid, if you laughed like that in third
I
grade,
don't know.
you know what they would have done?
Tony's just a very boisterous individual, I guess is the best way to put it. But he's a man with a good heart.
Yep.
And we hope, like I said, in 2021, when we discuss New Year's resolutions, one of mine is to try and get you guys together in the same place at the same time and create some great content, some great positive content for the fans to enjoy, because the fans actually requested a New Year's Eve special with you and Tony.
Oh, a lot of people. I
Yeah.
heard a few
And
people.
I think that would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we should have done that.
We could have dropped the ball on Johnny's piece.
You got a piece?
Take a look at the picture.
It's some sunglasses I'm worried about.
Well, he likes the shades too. He's actually producing John Cena Sr. socks with his face on them.
Would they come scented?
That I don't know. I asked him if, I don't know if you're familiar with Margot Ouellette from the Ms. and Mrs. reality show series, but she looks kind of like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but apparently she has the hots for Johnny.
Oh, real?
I asked him if Margot had maybe some panties with his face on them, but he claims no. I don't know. I don't know. Almost like Jane and another individual, but it's a different story for a different time.
You mean Miss Fonda?
Yeah. You're quite fond of her.
Nah, one night.
No.
Don't count for a whole lifetime. Don't judge me by one night.
You're quite fond of her, huh?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
don't judge me by one night.
Yeah. Were you the hatchet that smashed the tomato?
Oh, I don't know where that happened.
Yeah. No, that was
It
pre.
might not have been
Marty.
a hatchet. It might have been an axe.
And you're not talking Bill Eadie.
Nah.
No.
How's he doing?
Great.
You talked to him lately?
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody uses the word talk. I communicated
Well, the
with
same
him
thing.
electronically. Yeah. He's one of my favorite people. I love
Me too.
Bill in wrestling. He's a good man. He's an honest man. He's an upfront man. He's an OBS man. He's a man that genuinely
OBS.
loves
What's that?
the bullshit. He's
Oh.
a man that
Oh,
loves the
oh,
business.
bullshit.
He
Okay.
cares about the business. He wants people to do well when he's engaged with them. So
He
I've
got-
told Bill once he wants to travel again. I'd love to imagine having Bill as a regular every week on this show.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be great.
Because he's got a, you know, he didn't party. He was another one that, you know, did right. Well, I say did right, you know. I didn't know much about his personal life. I don't know even if he was married or not. Or
No, he's had the same wife. My God, going back to the days of Georgia Championship Wrestling.
And he never-
Sue, he's
and
still
he's
married
one-
with her now.
He's one that never messed around the road. There was very few of them. He was one of them.
Bill was loyal to Sue.
Yes. And, yeah. He saved me.
That's probably why he's still married.
He kind of saved me over in Austria.
You were telling us that story.
I did tell you.
Oh, you told us that story in an episode we filmed last night, which would be several weeks back. But
Oh, I told it.
Oh, you did, yeah.
But they lowered me down by
yeah,
the.
yeah. And then you saw the red light back at home, and
Oh, with the,
yeah. So that was
Man, I told that last night. I knew I told it, but I thought that was like
several
15
episodes ago.
ago.
Several episodes ago. But now, Bill Eadie, Demolition Axe, is a great
helped me on
human
that, though.
being.
He
I
helped
can't
me.
wait till we get him in here, because I really think him and we can create some great content. We'd have to pick a day of the week. Would we give him Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night? Those are the only 3 nights we have left.
Well, he'd be good for him. I mean,
Well, we'll see.
he's a fountain of
Fountain of
knowledge.
information.
Yeah, information.
I have all the respect in the world for Bill, and I hope Bill knows him. Him and I have a very good rapport.
Yeah.
He's someone whose opinion I trust because I've asked him, you know, his thoughts on different guys at different times about coming in, and he's not the type that wants to try and whore the booking out for himself.
Right.
He'll give his genuine opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He spoke when I asked him about you over the summer when you first came in the summer of 2020. I asked him what he thought of you, and he, you know, spoke very positively of you.
Even
there
though
you go.
that-
Even though he rescued you from an accident in Austria.
Austria, yeah.
And we'll label it as an accident.
But you know, anybody else would have told me, just give yourself up. Just give yourself up. You got to. We can't. The tour, they won't let the bus go. We're all stuck until they get you. Anybody else, I was like, get the fuck out of here. You know, but it was Bill. You know, and I trusted, like you said, I trusted him. You know, I trusted him.
Let me ask you this. I know that it was so tough where you guys were on the road so much to keep track of what other people, other places were doing, but the day of WrestleMania 5, as the sabotage attempts kind of went back and forth between WWF and WCW at the time, they ran a free 3-hour Clash of Champions show on TBS.
WCW did?
Featuring Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat in a 2 out of 3 falls match, head-to-head against WrestleMania 5, which I'm sure, in a lot of ways, took buys away from WrestleMania 5. Was there anyone?
Well, yeah, it had to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be.
But it was free. I guess you could flip back and forth or flip back.
If you're going to pay $40 for WrestleMania 5, are you really going to change the channel?
It's according to how boring the match is.
No, well, Jake and Andre, that was a rough one.
Was it?
With John Studd as the referee.
That was
one of the
that
worst.
wasn't 5.
Yeah, that was 5. That was one of the worst matches in WrestleMania history.
I didn't even see it.
It
so
was
bad.
awful. It was near the end of the show, but it was.
Semi-main.
It was awful. I mean,
you know what? Both of them are good workers. All 3 of them, actually. You know, John is a referee, but Andre's good for his style.
Right.
And Jake is just good any kind of style. And John was good for him being a big John Studd, you know, kind of thing. But just sometimes it's weird.
The chemistry's
Yeah,
off.
it just don't work. You know, who would have thought that Macho Man, who's hilarious and intelligent and quick with one-liners that make sense. To give you an example, remember I told you about the girl in Denver I was going up, her name was Georgia.
It's a 2-part question.
Yeah, and I said, Randy, what do you think of the, look at the test, and what do you think of the test? He goes, yeah, that's a 2-part question. I mean, just off the top of the dome like that. So him and Bobby Heenan. Bobby was great.
Oh,
you put
talk about quick wit.
Yeah, and you put the 2 together, you're thinking, oh my God, it didn't work. It just didn't work, and we were all shocked. We were all.
What do you mean?
It just didn't flow like.
What did they try and do with Bobby and Macho?
They were announcers. They were ringside announcers.
Oh, during Raw in the early days. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking 1989. Yeah.
I know,
in the early days of Raw, they were.
But it was mainly just to say the chemistry because of Big John Studd being a ref.
Yeah.
And them. It just, you know, I didn't see it. Probably was.
You lucked out.
Yeah.
You were back at the casino.
Probably talking to DT.
Talking to DT.
Well, Donald Trump.
But in all honesty, I don't think the sabotage attempts helped anybody. I think it took money out of your pockets.
You know what I tell, like a lot of the guys, like, you know, I'm all around the independent scene now with shows, and now that my ankles are shot out, even though I'm getting them fixed, or they're fixed by now, this is tape, but the one is, I still got to get the other one operated on. But, you know, I tell, like, if there's 2 little companies in some city, somewhere in Dayton, Ohio, you know, some littler place, not talking Dayton down, I got a couple people there. But you know, there's two shows or companies, independent companies, and they're fighting it with like sabotaging each other. One puts up flyers for the show, they go tear them down, they go spray paint the building and call the fire marshal, like you got the fire codes. You know, there's going to be too many people there, or the lighting ain't meeting specs, specifications. Whatever it is, sabotaging each other. Why?
It doesn't help anybody.
Why? If y'all work together, you could eventually build to AADW versus some other bunch of letters.
Well, you know, WWF wasn't interested in that. And I mean, they went to great lengths to sabotage NWA's pay-per-view efforts. You can understand WCW wanting a little retaliation, but in the end, maybe the cable companies were the ones that were pissed the most because they lost out on those pay-per-view buys and they were getting 50% of the pie.
I heard Fox News got bought out by some left-wing people.
When?
Well, this is airing like what? Where were we at, March?
Well, yeah, but I mean, in November of 2020.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
that's
now,
interesting.
So now, well, at the hotel, I don't know if y'all noticed because y'all got home late. We all did, but I turned on. I watch Fox News because they give you both sides. The other ones just give you one side. I turned it on, and yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, when I first got here. Well, yesterday, they had the Fox network. They was like, well, we're negotiating with them. They wouldn't here in Boston, and probably Dish. Dish sucks. Don't ever get Dish satellite.
You're not a Dish guy.
Nah, fuck. Excuse me. F them. But they had the Fox blacked out. And said, and they do this. So like, oh, we're negotiating with them. They don't want to do business. They put it on Fox, right?
Yeah, they put the heat on them.
Yeah. But you got your CNN and your headline news, which is all owned by Turner. Turner don't own it no more, does he?
I think he might have some small minority ownership, but he's not. Once the AOL merger went through, and I think it was 2000, he lost the most of his stroke. That's probably why you wound up with Jane, but. Yeah. It
was rounded. Oh wait, I didn't say something. But there was that Vince. But so this morning I got up when I went to the gym, and had my coffee and wake up good, and that same station that was blacked out had headline, and it says on the thing. I'm gonna take a picture of it to show my brother because he can't stand this shit. It says Fox News. It's a Fox News station, but you turn it on. Yesterday was blacked out, right? It's headline news. Well, headline news is on channel 18. You turn there, and it's headline news, and then CNN. So it's like and when I went to eat breakfast, what I told you because I owe you, for putting it on the room. It was two big ass TVs. And there wasn't that many people. It was only me and one other person in there. They were way off. I was where I could watch both TVs. It was the news, and headline news on one and Fox, CNN on the other. And I asked the guy, could I change the station? He goes, oh no, remote control, and we don't have no. So they got it. So my point is, it's almost what is the difference in what Korea does and China does is gives you information they want you to have and blocks all the other shit out. What's happening right now? Fox News is because it's more the right wing getting pushed on out. And you're on Fox Network where you usually tune in. They got headline news, so you're only seeing what. And as I say, what's the difference in what we're doing now and what Korea and China does? Because you won't see no negative shit about the country on over there or what they're doing.
Well, as we get out the fishing pole and try and reel you back into the world of 1989.
So in 1989, I had just turned 29. I just paid my house off.
Life, that's pretty good. 29.
Well,
the house clear. You had almost no debt.
20 or 28.
Making good money.
Actually, 88 was when I moved to Orlando, and we were making good money. By the end of '88, I paid the house off, the whole thing, so I didn't have a mortgage every month. Which is, it would have been $700 something monthly. 700 of it would have been interest.
Right.
14 goes. What the hell I want to do that for when I got the money sitting right here?
Now let me ask
that's an investment you make.
We touched upon it briefly during WrestleMania 5. Our buddy, the Superfly Jimmy Snuka, returned to the World Wrestling Federation after a 4-year sabbatical after a lot of his medicine problems and the Nancy Argentino incident. Jimmy was
that the one that fell off or? Hit the head. Is that the one that died?
The one that died, yeah.
Okay.
I guess is the PC way to put it, because I like Jimmy an awful lot.
Me too.
But the evidence kind of paints a certain story.
I don't know what the evidence was. What we had heard was she bumped her head or something.
Yeah.
And he had to get to the garden up there, or somewhere, wherever they were. He had to get to the show, and he left her, and he came back, and she was that way. But his story was, when he came back.
There were several incidents where the police had to be called over domestic issues between the two of them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So I think it was a violent end
And
for
she
Nancy.
had a mafioso daddy.
Argentino's Italian, yeah.
And that's why everybody was like, uh-oh, for Jimmy.
Because at the same time, Buddy Rogers was almost his Virgil. He would have to drive Jimmy from town to town, and they were neighbors. So I guess Buddy Rogers' wife and Jimmy's wife at the time, you know, they knew about what an abusive man he could be in his moments of rage. And I guess...
He went off the deep. I've seen it a few times.
And I was told a couple of WWE Hall of Famers helped clean up the mess of the Nancy Argentino passing that has never been reported in any of the...
I heard when he did the book, whoever did it for him, because, he can't read. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, no, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know it till one time, because we got real close. I love Jimmy. He'd come on, he goes, brother, which bag is clean? He goes, and I'm like, it says right here, he goes, brother, I can't read. So, he wanted me to go show him where our bags were coming, thing. And I never knew he couldn't read till that moment,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it was funny, man. A couple of years later, he's in the dressing room. And Fuji, Fuji was known for ribbing.
Oh, yeah.
Completely, I'm not paying attention much. And Jimmy's over there reading the sport. I look and he's got the sports page. He's right in the middle of the dressing room reading the sports page. And I'm like, Jimmy, because I was interested, it was baseball. Like, how the Braves doing? He goes, looks like they're doing pretty good, brother. And I'm thinking, why is he looking all over the page for it? and so I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they don't tell me that it looks like they're doing pretty good. And then, but when he's holding it up like this, Fuji comes over and takes a lighter and lights it right here. And it starts flaming up, and he throws it in the air, and he kicks his chair back and falls, and he gets up, and he gets all mad at Fuji. He goes, "I should kick your ass for that, brother." And he goes out in the dressing room, and I'm sitting there, and it finally hit me. I was like, Jimmy can't read.
So why did he have the newspaper?
And I went. That was all the setup. It was all they were in on together. But he went into the next dressing room. I walked up and I said, Jimmy, that was funny as hell. Oh, what you mean, brother?
Oh, it was a rib the two of them set up together. Oh, to make people laugh.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, like Fuji really lit his paper and scared the shit. I said, brother, I know you can't read. He just patted me and just laughed. With that Jimmy laugh.
He's a good man.
Super good.
And I like Jimmy an awful lot. I have fond memories of Jimmy. But how was Jimmy with the medicine in '89 when he came back? Was he still heavy into the medicine? I mean, he had to have been heavily gassed up to look that way at his age. He was at an advanced age when he came back.
When in '89?
Yeah.
Well, when I met Jimmy, it was '86.
In AWA, yeah.
He had that run with Colonel De Beers, which, thank God, because that lifted. We would have died a lot quicker.
That was just when I started watching wrestling, and that was a hot feud. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Because Colonel De Beers was doing the South Africa, racial thing.
Yeah.
Jimmy, took offense to it, and so that was it. But we were doing a lot of partying.
Yeah.
We did a lot of cocaine back then. We don't do that now. But a lot. And Jimmy never said no. Whatever.
So his habits really didn't change.
No, but and what we had heard about Jimmy, and actually we did so much back then that it would go all the way into the next day, and you knew we got to stop, got to get some sleep, because we had a show that day, so you want to get a few hours. And we didn't have no downers. Usually you'd have some alcohol. That'll bring you down from that, because it's the worst feeling in the world to do cocaine all night and then suddenly stop. Oh no, because it hurts, man. It just hurts. It's like you just want to shoot yourself in the head to get it over with.
Yeah.
But you ever did?
No.
But Jimmy, I guess, was coming down. We heard, I wasn't there for this. He was main event in Madison Square Garden. And it was so hard getting in the garden. They had a back driveway that all the fans knew it, that it went underneath, to the Madison Square Garden. fans would get out there, because they knew the boys were coming in or seeing who's that. They would try to get autographs. You can't stop, because if you stop, they'll be climbing in the car. That's, of all the places I've been, Madison Square Garden is the craziest to get in and out of.
And still to this day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. Because we used to go up to the Ramada. It was Ramada up the street a little bit, about 4 or 5 blocks, and we'd get in the ambulance. About 5, 6 of us
A
get
lot
in
of
the
guys
ambulance.
would do that.
Yeah, and you go in the ambulance so the people don't know who it is. They just think an ambulance coming through. And then when you had to leave, you hoped the ambulance was still around, because if you went out in your own car, I mean, they would get in front of you. You either going to have to run over them, or you're going to have to try to roll the window down and sign. I'll never forget one time. I'm sorry, we're off 89
That's
again.
okay.
One time we was in a cab. We took a cab, me and Sean. And the cab driver, he had no clue. I mean, New York City cab driver, and you don't know about the garden. Nice.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah.
And he pulls in there, and everybody's like, they saw us. They see us. Oh, it's the Rockers, it's the Rockers. And here they come, swarm the car. And he stops. We're like, don't stop, go. And I'm pushing him like, go, man, don't stop. And he's like, he panicked. He was like, what the hell's going on? We'll go. And he couldn't. Now they're all in there. And he goes to roll the window down, because they're holding papers like and flashing. And we're like, no, don't roll the window down, don't roll. So he started, then he stopped. And so they started rocking it. They get violent. I mean, they beat on the ambulances when we'd leave. When they did see somebody, like beefcake or somebody, and they like, oh, it's the wrestler. They would kick the shit out and punch it and throw shit at it because it wouldn't stop. They were bouncing this cab back and forth. I said, brother, either you gun it or we're going to get rolled. And he got scared. He gunned it and knocked a couple people off to the side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think he's squashed none of them.
Yeah.
But boom, boom, off to the side. And he was like, what the hell was that? Like, yeah, man, that's just Madison
He didn't
Square
know
Garden.
where you were?
I don't think he did.
Yeah.
But, he's taking us to the garden in the Marquise.
Wrestling,
WWF wrestling.
yeah.
But,
Well,
yeah.
it must have been kind of a thrill for you, though, to have that kind of excitement, that many people just interested in meeting you. My God, I mean, for a small-town guy from Georgia.
Yeah. It was there, you got used to it.
Yeah.
But
MSG was just a unique environment.
Dave, yeah, it's different than anywhere I've ever been. Even the Boston Garden wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And Philly wasn't that bad. Those were even LA Arena, because you had to go through, I think it was Compton or somewhere, was a pretty rough area.
Geez, yeah.
You know what they used to do? I mean, I think that's the first time I met Snoop, but I don't know, because I partied a lot and I forget a lot. But they'll see you go through a drive-through. We were hungry, man. We got to go through, I think it was Taco Bell, whatever the hell it was. They'll sit up, like you go through the drive-through and you pay, you give the money to get your order. They see you get change when you pull up a few feet to the road and you got to stop. They'll beat on the window like, hey, guy, you got any change? They just saw you. You're like, oh, I ain't got none. Then they get fucking aggressive. And I think Snoopy that one time called it off. He was like, no, don't you know who that is? I think there was a couple things that happened there. But, I mean, it's just it's crazy-ass scams you went through when you go through Compton. To get to the arena, you had to go through there. It was
the only way, yeah.
I mean, you could take, I don't even know. I mean, none of us wanted to take a chance, because you get lost there. We know this turn and that turn. Don't go out there and get, oh, I'm lost. Roll the window down. Hey, a couple of white boys over there going, where do we go? Your car ain't going nowhere from there, because they already got the tires off of it. Yeah, but the garden's still crazier than anywhere I've ever been. I think I've been to 37 countries.
37, wow.
Yeah, about that. I mean,
give or take.
Yeah. Probably a little less, but close. It's close enough for a lot of places. I'm talking about third world places where I got pictures that I'm going to send you a shitload of pictures.
I'm going to send you links, so we'll swap.
Okay. And there was one place, it was some islands. All them islands look good on TV and on postcards because they show you the tourist area.
Yeah.
But they don't show you right next to there's like shit on the beaches. They're like brown sand and people are starving and they're walking around picking up. There was one place, I don't know, not in the Bahamas, but something like that. you would think, you always hear the good part of it. We were on the bus, and it was American, everybody knew it was Americans and the wrestlers, because that's a big deal in these little islands. And all these kids are out there doing this. Oh, please, please, food. They're asking you to give them food, give them food. That has an effect on you.
Sure.
You're looking down and you're thinking, I suck, man. When Joe Biden's president, fuck. Then you look down and you see these kids doing that, like, probably under socialism, but you see that, and it really affects you. I mean, it's hard to be happy after that, knowing these kids are going up to Americans, doing this, wanting food, and then you try to complain about your life.
Well, maybe if Tony Atlas was there, he could have had his chicken wings, and the kids could have had the residue that would be coming out of the side of his mouth.
He don't clean them good when he eats them?
Like I said, it's like the back end of a snowblower as I sit here trying to dodging the little debris of the chicken wing that comes in my direction.
One day.
He knows. We've talked about the debris.
Y'all have, but now you're telling the world.
well, no, we've talked about it on the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Him and I really have no secrets. It's almost violent when he gets into the chicken wing. It was almost like when you muff dive Jane Fonda.
Why do you guys say that? I didn't ever say I did that.
Was there any debris?
Do you know Tony? Tony's got to be like 70 years old.
No, Tony's 64.
But you see how he's built for 64?
Well, he's still a personal trainer.
Oh, he is?
Well, up until coronavirus. And he still works out every day at the YMCA.
Yeah, but you see how he's 64.
He's still got guns, baby.
Oh, I bet he's strong. Did they do an arm wrestling thing one time about 10 years ago where Tony was coming in to arm wrestle somebody?
I don't remember that.
I can't remember who it was.
He was managing Mark Henry about 10 years ago in WWE. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
This was like some arm wrestling thing, and we're looking at Tony's. He's still got them big ass arms, like shit.
Yeah, he's still in great shape. He still lives. He in his basement garage. He still has weight sets, so he's been able to do that even during the
That's
lockdown.
what I got. I have to set up.
You have to be creative, though. That's all.
Well, yeah.
But so Jimmy was in. Would you say he was in rough shape?
So going to the garden.
Yeah.
So we're going back to. Boy, did we just veer away the fuck off? Excuse my language. Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
He'd been gimmicking up. Like I said, now this is a pretty popular story.
Madison?
Yeah, Madison Square Garden.
No, Medicine.
Oh, Medicine. Yeah, he's been
Not
doing
Madison Square Garden. No.
Yeah, Madison Square Garden. And there's is that Quake? No, that's not Quake. Is it?
No, that's whatever that is new. I can tell by the set.
The one that splashed the snake was Quake. You sure about that?
Yeah, John Tenta,
Yeah.
Earthquake.
I liked him. Oh, that is new.
So
okay.
MSG, snooker, cocaine.
Jimmy,
what do we got?
Jimmy was practicing
medicine.
Yes, all night long.
Like a doctor.
Yeah, practicing and
PhD in medicine.
He was. You go to Madison Square Garden, he's in the limo, and it's appearing tonight, Jimmy Superfly Snuka on the marquee, right? And he comes around, they come around to that where I told you the little driveway thing that you go underneath the building to get out, to go. And they seen the limo, and they come rushing around, and somebody said, it's Snuka, it's Snuka. Man, he was over in New York, probably bigger than Hogan at one, I don't know.
Huge in New York,
Yeah.
equal,
Yeah.
if not
right.
equal.
Yeah, some people
Hogan.
said he was big time. After he did that dive off the top of the cage, that was it. Everybody loved him. Remember that?
Yeah.
But so they're like, Jimmy tries to get out the car to say hello because Jimmy's a very loving person.
Yes, very friendly.
And they're going, Jimmy, Jimmy, Jimmy. He opens the door and they're like, Superfly, Superfly. And they're screaming and going. He gets back, he shuts the door and he tells the limo driver, not today, brother. Drive. And turned around and left. He no-showed the main event because he didn't want to deal with that part of coming down when you're miserable. Can you imagine you're surrounded with hundreds of people, beating on your car?
So he was coming down and then he no-showed the event?
Jimmy. He's not today, brother. Drive. He took him back to the hotel and he
wow.
Yeah, I think he got in trouble on that one.
I would hope.
You would hope.
Well, I mean, that not only for the fans, but in New York you have to deal with the athletic commission. Fans can get refunds through the commission in situations like that. So, oh boy, what do we got?
Oh, I forgot. Did I have this shirt on at the beginning of this?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. Okay, I can leave it then.
post-WrestleMania, there were a series of...
I think I lost the microphone, though. If I apologize, because we do so many
Does
episodes.
he still have the mic on? It looks like he has it on. Can you hear him fine?
Okay.
Don't touch anything.
I got a shirt, a new shirt.
No, that's the one you
Y'all
started
sure?
the show.
Yeah, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that. I tried to change shirts for y'all.
Series
Same
of,
ass pants and same look shoes, this ankle. All right,
It's
go
something that's happened many times over the years. Several layoffs after WrestleMania. Nick Bockwinkel out as an agent. Scott
Yeah.
Casey was given his walking papers.
poor
The
Scott.
Bolsheviks, Nikolai Volkov and Boris Zukov. Stick a fork in Frenchie Martin. They put Dino Bravo with Jimmy Hart. Powers of Pain went the singles route. So a little bit of change after WrestleMania. And
Damn,
did
about
you?
4 or 5 of the names you just said, they all died.
I know Frenchie passed away. Bockwinkel passed away. Nikolai passed away. Yeah.
And there was one other.
Boris is still alive, as far
I talked.
as I know.
We talk on Facebook a
Oh,
lot.
do you?
Yeah.
And Scott Casey is still alive. I think he
Scott's
got ill.
Scott's. He had an open heart surgery here recent. Me and him still stay in touch. I told y'all that story, right? About he had a meeting with Vince.
With the lasso, yeah. But did it bother you? Bother any of the guys to see some of your peers go? Some of your maybe not good friends, but did you care about Nick leaving as an agent?
I mean, I was good with it because I knew him from AWA, and we ribbed each other. I ribbed him, and he got me back that one time, but I loved him to death. I love the people. I don't rib people I don't like because that's serious.
Yeah, right.
I rib people I like. I joke, I prank on people I like, and it should be that way. You don't go messing with somebody. I've told this before, but talking about ribbing and shit like Pat Tanaka. I told you the flight. There's been a few flights from hell, but when you have 300 a year, there's going to be a few
of flights.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. That's over 1,000 flights. And Tanaka, we were coming back from Tokyo, long ass 14 hours, and he had taken a few Valiums or whatever, drink a couple beers to go to sleep. Sleep. You can sleep a good 8 hours and wake up and you still got a day left. You still got a bunch of hours before you get home. So the guys used to like to do that, take downers or whatever to make you go to sleep for a while.
Mac Daddy, all right, he gives us the inside scoop.
What do we got, 3 minutes? Two?
We're running close to the end of the episode, but finish your thoughts.
So, Pat had passed out. We're up in first class. He's sitting right next to Hulk. I'm over here. I don't even remember who was next to me, Macho Man or somebody. But we're getting off. We got to L.A. and we got a show that night in L.A. after that long ass flight.
No rest.
Yeah, no rest. We got there in the morning, so we had a couple hours there. But so Pat's sitting there, and somebody's like laughing. I hear a bunch of snickling as people are getting off, and I look over at Pat, and somebody, I ribbed the hell out of Pat, but it had nothing to do with this one. I would tell y'all. I would tell him by now. That was years ago. But somebody shaved half his head. I think Brian Blair was involved in it. But shaved one half of his head.
Of who? Of Tanaka?
Yeah.
But Brian Blair wouldn't have been in the company at that point.
He wouldn't have?
No.
Theirs was around 89.
Well, they didn't debut until 90.
90?
So.
Okay. Brian did get somebody because it was on video camera.
Oh, okay.
Because one of the referee guys, that was actually a foreign to her, so that wasn't Brian. But whoever it was, they shaved one half of his head, and he had a Fu Manchu. They shaved the other half of that, and they shaved his eyebrows off.
So what did they do with him for TV? I don't ever remember.
Well, no, this was just a house show at L.A.
Well, if he had half his head shaved off, I mean.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what happened that night. So, I look over there and I see that, and I'm shocked. Oh my God, there's hair, all over the place, and people walking off the plane. They're looking back at him, and he's looking at people look at him because he
didn't know.
Up.
Yeah, he didn't see a mirror.
He looks at me and goes, "Why is everybody looking at me? Hulk's right here. Why are they looking at me? Because if Hulk's there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Hey, brother, go in the bathroom, look in the mirror." And he gets up and he goes there, and then you hear this, "Oh my God!" he saw us, he got shaved off. So we had the match that night, and he didn't know what to do. He was like, I don't know what to do. Should I just not have the match? I was like, no, here, do this. Give me some mask care. I think we got it from, I don't know, Sonny, was there one of the girls? Maybe Sherry.
Maybe Sherry at that point.
And painted on. I said, let y'all paint your eyebrows back on. I'll paint this and wear a bandana to the ring. We'll get through tonight. Because I think we just had to do that show, then we had like 3 or 4 days off.
Oh, okay.
Not that his hair was going to go back in 3 or 4 days.
Long. He had
but
long
it get
hair.
us through that night.
Yeah.
And we went out to the ring. They were in there. Me and Pat lock up. We're going to lock up first. So lock up. I snap bear him. Pull the top off, pull the bandana off, throw it out in the ring, and he starts squirming. I'm holding him there so everybody can see him, and he's like bouncing. We're going around to the whole arena, and they're dying laughing because his head. And then he's like, "What are you fucking doing up?" And then I'm like doing this shit, and I'm wiping all the mascara off, and you can see half the mustache gone, and the eyebrow. Oh man! For the first 5 minutes of the match, the place was just laughing their ass off.
And you don't remember who actually did it to him?
I never saw. I was asleep too.
Oh, you were asleep. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I
So you woke up to it.
Yeah, I woke up and I was wondering why everybody was looking because Hogan was a little bit farther away. I mean,
Oh, he wasn't sitting right next to him.
no, yeah, he was, but he was against the window.
Oh, I see.
And which he usually had the thing. He let Pat have the aisle. The little bitty Pat got the aisle seat. Big ass Hulk's over there, but I think he wanted to sleep.
Yeah.
Lay on the thing. But I kept looking at everybody because they're looking right down at Pat, and Pat's looking at them like, am I that popular? But that's when after so many, and they start laughing. They would giggle and walk out the because we was right up front, right by the
I
exit.
wonder who did it, who the culprit was.
There was a lot of guys on board, so ain't no telling. Nasty Boys might have been there.
Yeah, they would have been around there in the same time frame, yeah.
Yeah, you should know because you're that encyclopedia.
If you tell me the year, I can tell you pretty much who was on the roster.
Well, when did Orient come in?
In 90.
He was with Sato then.
So that would have been 90.
I think so. It was around 90.
You probably post WrestleMania. So let me ask you this: would The Office get upset about a rib like that?
Who?
Where The Office? Because you
only
kind
if it
of.
affected the show.
Well, I mean, as far as his presentation at the next TV taping, they probably had to not use him.
I don't know what they did. I don't know if they kept him off for a little bit.
That's what I mean.
Or made him wear a bandana.
Would The Office get pissed
They didn't.
about a rib like
Orange
that?
Express didn't do that many interviews. They did a few. Fuji would always talk.
No, I understand that, but I mean, as far as their work goes, to send Pat Tanaka out with a half-shaven head.
And we had to work them that very first night it happened. I don't know if we worked them.
Yeah, so that would have been the spring of '90 that would have happened.
That sounds about right. But I don't know what happened after that. I don't know if we worked them for a while. I think I just know we were the first match after that shaving, and then we might have went off with the Rougeos and they went on wherever. But I don't know. Yeah, Pat could tell you. I guarantee he remembers.
Well, maybe someday we'll have Pat in here.
You should have me and him on together.
Together?
Yeah.
Maybe
boy.
when we talk like 1990, 1991, we can have a side. I'm writing it down right now. Is this maybe like a sidekick for a few episodes?
Oh, and y'all want to laugh? Tune in. I mean, because he remembers shit I don't, and I remember shit he don't.
All right.
But once you say it, like, oh yeah.
Everybody remembers.
Did I tell you about the donkey chasing him?
The donkey chasing him? No. Let's save that for when we get into the Orient Express time of your career in WWF.
We're almost
As we
there,
wrap
aren't we?
up, no, we're not even close. As we wrap up this show, any thoughts about any of those guys that got canned? I know you traveled.
Which ones you said again?
Scott Casey, I know you traveled a little with him.
Yep.
Bockwinkel, I know you would rib back and forth with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any relations with Frenchie Martin or the Bolsheviks.
Yeah, I liked your Frenchie. We were good.
You liked Frenchie?
Yeah.
Any memories of Frenchie Martin, since he'll probably never
that
come up
deep
again?
voice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I had to grab that because he just had to. He was a quiet ribber. Frenchie? Yeah, he did not let everybody, like everybody would tell each other, hey, watch this, watch this.
Frenchie liked
Frenchie would do shit, but he wouldn't tell but maybe one or two, and he would tell me, like, hey, watch this. And you'd see something funny that he did.
Well, not one of the great managers in WWF history.
But he had that French connection.
He did, but I don't think Frenchie added much to the package.
Probably not.
I think Jimmy Hart was a better manager for Bravo than Frenchie, in my personal opinion.
That was the other one that died you mentioned earlier, Bravo.
Oh, yeah,
You know what happened
93.
on that one, right?
The mob.
Yep.
bye-bye.
15 in the belly and 2 in the head or something like that.
Well, do you know why?
Yeah, because they told him he was selling cigarettes for.
No, well, there's even deeper, that goes deeper than that. He obviously was. He was involved in the illegal cigarette ring.
Yep.
But what was going on was, one time, the truckload supposedly got robbed. And this is a man right now that, forget about what he was making in WWF. When he was in this cigarette ring, he was making 40 grand a week.
Yeah. But he had no way to prove
week.
how he's making it.
Exactly.
And they said, don't be buying new shit, just like that movie Goodfellas.
No. Well, maybe that had something to do with it too. But okay, supposedly the truck got robbed once. Okay.
Well,
Not too long later, truck got robbed the second time of all the cigarettes.
They kept, okay.
So.
He was doubling.
Bye-bye, Dino.
He get paid for this. And, well, I had heard
$40,000 a week, and that wasn't enough for him to be content? Well, that's just nuts to me. I've never made $40,000 in a week.
But see, I heard a different story.
No, what did you hear?
Well, I heard it when it was fresh, when it first happened, because me and Dino were good, very good.
buddies? Yeah.
Yes. And I think maybe one of the Rougeos, and they were all that French.
Yeah.
Had said that, he was involved with that. But he had been let go, so he didn't have WWE paydays as a cover.
He was making, just a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot more. How many 40 grand weeks did you have?
I had 0 of those. But they had told him about buying. You got no way to. He was buying new cars. Like I said, that movie Goodfellas, where they robbed the Lufthansa heist, whatever the hell it was over there in New York. They said, stop buying shit. You're bringing attention,
Yeah.
Right after they told him, he put like a $10,000 in the ground pool,
But I could almost see you getting away with that, because there he was a WWF superstar.
But he was cars, pool, upgrades, fur coats, all that stuff,
But when people look at a WWF superstar, they assume you're a multimillionaire, despite what the reality of it is. But I was, and this is by someone that was a very, very close personal friend of his.
Who?
Of Dino. Okay. That's what happened. He claimed that not once but twice within a very short period of time, the truckloads of cigarettes got stolen.
We heard that, yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure he sold the cigarettes on the side at that point, and they decided, well, you know what, Dino, you weren't trustworthy enough to be involved in the project anymore.
Or you did double timing,
And I don't know anything about Dino, so I
loved him, man. Good guy.
Fun guy. Like Dino?
Yeah, fun guy. We had so many laughs together. He used to fly on the plane with Terry Garvin and stuff.
Ronnie Garvin.
Yeah, Ronnie. What did I say, Terry?
Yeah, you didn't want to ride Terry.
No. But Dino, man, we'd sit there and play cribbage and cut up, and he would tell me some funny-ass stories, and, I would tell him some lies. So we'd laugh. If we had a 3-hour flight, it was like over in 5 minutes.
Was he involved with the cigarettes at that point?
No. That was after
he was just wrestling?
I think that was after he got let go.
All right, well, any final memories about Casey, Bockwinkel, Bolsheviks, or stick a fork in all of them?
I liked every one of those you just said. Nikolai, like I said, Boris, we still cut up on Facebook.
I don't think he was ever over with the fans, because he was almost looked at as a replacement for the Sheik when he got busted with Jim Duggan. You know what I mean?
Sheik? Iron Sheik.
Yeah, Iron Sheik, not Eddie Farhat.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that's how that went about, the replacement.
Yeah. Zukov was Sheik's
Remember
recast.
Sheik Adnan El Casey?
Oh, yeah. General Adnan.
Yeah, General Adnan.
We'll get there in 91. All right, wrestling fans, we're running out of time on this one, but we always have time for you. If you're chatting with us in the premiere, don't forget that super chat button. It helps us keep the lights on, keep the legends working. We love having you here. We have a lot of fun with all of our regulars. We don't want you to forget about the Patreon. Where for the cup of coffee at Starbucks, you help keep the Wrestling Legends working. You get early ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider in-studio shoot interviews. You get access to our studio shoot interview DVD library, those classics with the Sheik that have been heard around the world on the Howard Stern Show, and so much more. Couple bucks. And if you haven't subscribed to the Patreon, I'm very interested to know what we could do to get you to try it out. Just for a couple bucks a month to help these wrestlers out, to help them keep working. The more revenue we have coming in, the more guys we can keep active and healthy at a time when there are no live wrestling events or very few wrestling events to be had in the majority of the country. There's very few personal appearances to be had. And the guys that aren't under WWE contracts, they don't have that income coming in. These are the guys that entertained you for decades. These are the guys that gave of their heart, their bodies, and their soul. They took time away from their wives and their kids to make your enjoyment that much better. Let's try and help them out. Let's open this studio up to all of the great legends who could use a helping hand right now. And it almost sounds like Sally Struthers when she would try and do the commercial pitches to try and feed the children over in Africa or something like that.
Was it that or animals?
No, she was for children with hunger. But you know, honestly, that is my passion and what I do in wrestling. I care about these great veterans. I don't like to see them put out to pasture. Not to knock this man as if he's feeble.
I was going to say he's begging
but
for
me.
me.
I want, like I said, I want a show 7 nights a week. Then once we get to 7 nights a week, I want us to keep growing to where we have 2 superstars every night, where we have 14 episodes a week, and keep growing and growing. Let WWE do what they want to do. They bought the libraries they bought. They create history the way they want to. They own it. They can do that. But that doesn't mean there aren't a lot of great stories, a lot of great legends, a lot of great experiences that we can bring to life here, and you can directly make that happen. Again, we have great merchandise in the eBay store, as well as the T-shirt bundle on bostonwrestling.com. Check out the links in the description box below. For our good friend in the control room that's been a big help for these tapings, Matt Degnan, the prodigy. For my buddy Marty Jannetty, I'm Dan Marati. Until we speak again, folks, you and yours, stay well, be healthy. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Cambria County War Memorial in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, Thursday, March the 17th, 1983. In the opening contest, WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha beat Mac Rivera. Baron Mikel Cicluna with the win over Joe Abbey. Pete Sanchez defeated Bill Dixon. Salvatore Bellomo victorious over Jose Estrada. Superfly Jimmy Snuka beat the crippler Ray Stevens. And in the main event, Andre the Giant and Rocky Johnson defeated WWF Tag Team Champion Alpha and Captain Lou Albano, who replaced Sika. If you were in Johnstown Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the link in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. All right, wrestling fans, 3 down but still 1 to go. If you are a fan of modern-day wrestling, boy, does John Cena Sr. have the episode for you as the lights at the Thunderdome go dim every Friday night at 10. John Cena Sr.'s dome, I should say, is just lighting up. This week, Johnny shoots on his buddy, his good friend, The Big Show, who just made the jump from WWE to AEW. And then we answer some of your questions about superstars that have left WWE for potentially greener pastures in AEW. Which promotion has used them better? Well, I can't answer that, but John Cena Sr. does. Stand by.
All right, wrestling fans, the road to WrestleMania continues. SmackDown is done for the night. The lights at the Thunderdome in Tampa are going dim. I don't know if you're going to be at Fabulous Estates down there anytime soon, but that $8 million complex, 43 acres down in Tampa, private beach. You got it going pretty good down there in Tampa.
Let me tell you something. Tampa's the place to be. I also have a place in Naples.
That's right. I forgot about that
and
one.
now I'm looking for a place in Orlando. I might buy a place at the Villages.
I don't think you'd want to go there. Did
Why?
you know that that's one of the STD capitals of the world?
Do you really believe that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do
Well-
you?
Well, you know what? I probably have it in for somebody.
But I mean, no. But you know, you have all those old people with a lot of free time on their hands, a lot of activities, getting a little frisky. I was actually. I'll have to tell you off air sometime about the time I spent in the Villages
Really? Would you fill me in on that?
in 2009.
I'd like to hear about that.
Well, it involved a female that wasn't Linda, who had a grandparent that lived down there. So
I'd love to hear about it
All
because
right,
I'm
well.
seriously looking at one.
it was. The houses is too small for you, I think, Johnny.
Well, you know, I just need.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about maybe about 5 feet in between each one of them.
That's good because, you know,
You like to, well.
Well, no,
you
no,
like
no.
to be
I'm looking
close,
at a
we know
place that
that.
Monisa's family wants a vacation. They can go down and enjoy themselves.
that might
yeah.
be a good
I don't want
idea
them on the estate.
I don't know.
Yeah, another story for another time.
Or any of those oulettes.
Whoa!
We. All right, Johnny, last week we talked about WWE, the road to WrestleMania. It continues with its many twists and turns as we look forward to the big event along with Fastlane this month. But after we concluded taping the last time you were in studio physically, the news broke that your longtime close personal friend, The Big Show, as he was known in WWE, has moved on to new endeavors in All Elite Wrestling as Paul White, his real name, and he's now with the quote-unquote competition, Johnny. What do you think about a blockbuster signing for AEW?
Let me tell you something. Talk about being in shock. When I saw that press release, when you sent it to me, I was like, you have got to be kidding. Because the last time I knew, Paul White had stated that he was going to be with WWE for a long time, and he looked forward to working with those coming up through the ranks to be able to help them, show them, and guide them, and get involved on not only a wrestling side, but a mentor side, I guess I can use. I'll tell you what, I'm in shock. 22 years plus, and this guy is jumping ship. I don't know. I'd like to know what Vince McMahon thinks about this one.
Well, I know it caused a lot of havoc as far as merchandising goes when they plan out action figures ahead of time, video game characters ahead of time, and things like that they're going to have to remove them from. But it did come, and it takes a lot to kind of blow me away. But as you had left, I sat down at my computer and started going through the emails. And AEW, you know, they send me the press releases and the updates and so on. And I said, Paul White, I said, that couldn't mean Big Show. And then I clicked it, and his face was staring right back at me.
One of the nicest human beings. I always tell you the story about I was at the Garden, ringside. He was in, finished his match. You know, he's laughing, the great jovial guy he is, and he puts his hand out to shake my hand, and I'm saying, okay. I put my hand out, and what does he do? He grabs me and rubs my, he's all sweaty now from this match. And then at WrestleMania, same thing. His wife, what a wonderful human being she is. She usually wears the top hat. What a great human being, great couple. I'll tell you what, he is going to be sadly missed at the WWE. There had to be something, and I don't know if it's just money, but there had to be something that made this man change his mind.
Well, he was going to kind of, I don't know if transfer is the right word, but be transitioned from more of an active talent contract to a Legends deal.
So
and there's a significant decline in income. I mean, you're talking about a lot of the Legends contracts, some of them are only $500, $750 a week. Some of the top tier ones, maybe $100 grand a year outside of someone like Hogan. But for someone that was accustomed to probably close to, if not $1 million a year lifestyle, that's a big decline in income, as well as enjoyment of the job. You know, maybe if there was a position for him to still be active, as maybe a producer or an agent or something like that, to be actively engaged with the young talent on Raw and SmackDown, or maybe even NXT. You know, maybe that might have appealed to him. But whether it be the actual position, I know the finances did play into it to some degree from what I was told. he decided to move on to a new opportunity with great relations where he had worked with Chris Jericho. They were tag team champions and feuded with DX a little over 10 years ago. I believe he was a Cody Rhodes WrestleMania opponent at one point. I'm sure when, as the Giant, when he was going through the WCW system, he had to have become familiar with Dusty Rhodes. So, you know, many working relationships right there. I'm sure Goldust, we both had long stints within the company, as someone that he would have known well. And, you know, of all the people that have gone to the company, no negative feedback that I'm aware of as far as regretting leaving WWE to go there. So maybe he felt it was a great move for him. Right now it's in Jacksonville, as far as I know. Big Show still lives in Florida.
He lives in Florida, yeah, he does.
So not the longest of commutes. Bi-weekly TV tapings right now.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like it could be, potentially for him, a great fit.
Well, he's still a young man, in my opinion. You know, I don't judge people by age. I think that, and I guess I'm really kind of disappointed. Apparently there was no counteroffer. Or if it was nowhere near what they offered him. And you know what? I guess I have to say this. I say it a lot. I say it to my sons. You know, I say it to friends when we go with a business deal or whatever. Friendship ends where business begins. And I think that Vince at the top would say the same thing. So apparently, I just hope that the parting of the ways was amicable, that everybody is happy, and they really do mean what they say. We wish him the best on his future endeavors, because he is one man, like The Undertaker, who gave his body, who did what he had to do for the company. So he's got a new job. Money played a part, and you say, I guess that's important to a lot of people except me. I don't have any.
You have too much.
But I give it away.
Yeah.
I give it away.
Very generous, I'll give you that.
I give it away. So I just hope, I wish the best to Paul Wright, nothing but the best. I'm sure it was a great decision on both parts. I just hope, again, that it was an amicable split between WWE and Paul Wright. That's so important to me because they had such a good working relationship.
Do you think it would have been worth it for WWE to invest megabucks in a 49-year-old Big Show?
My answer is no. I have to agree with what you're alluding to. I think when a man reaches that age point, 50, 49, 50, that's when you begin to look at where's the dollar value, all right? So how many times can you use a Big Show on a surprise match? It's almost like Lesnar, bringing him in 5 or 6 matches at a time. So how much can you do? And then what is the value? What is the value? I guess that's the word. And apparently, you know, there wasn't enough value to put asses in seats and to bring these young guys and young women up. And apparently, Paul, who loves the business, decided that this is a great opportunity for me. It's a great chance. It's good for me. It's good for my family. And he'd probably get, what, a 3-4 year contract out of this?
That I do not know. I know it
well,
was
let's say it's 2 years. Let's say it's a 2-year
minimum
contract.
if it's multi.
Yeah, so let's say 2 years. 3 is at best. So you know what? The good part is now he's got time to really pull back, begin to plan retirement. Because even in his own words, I mean, when you chat with him, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to probably retire pretty soon. I understand that nothing's forever. So I think those are the kind of things that I look at. And then when I see this, it's kind of like, whomp, hit the side of the head with that big hand.
Well, maybe it also came to a point where he wanted to be around, maybe not in the ring, but wanted to be around the industry still on a weekly basis, and they just didn't have the proper spot for him.
I would agree with that, because his general comments were he wanted to be involved. Not necessarily in the ring. I think he realized or realizes that I can't do what I did. You know, it's an awful thing to say, but the older you get, my body can't do what it did when I was 35 or 40. So you realize that there's a point where at some time you've got to transition from wrestler to manager, maybe from manager to announcer, whatever. And I think Paul Wright was there. He was at that point. I think that what he intended and what he foresaw was not the same vision that maybe Vince or WWE saw. And when this came up, it was a great opportunity to allow him to, as you say, remain in the mix and do what his dream is to, I guess, what is the word, wind down his career.
Well, and on the flip side, I'll ask you this, almost the exact same question we did a moment ago about WWE. Do you think it's worth it for AEW to invest megabucks as they're a growing company looking to get new eyeballs on their product, to grow their identity, to bring in maybe someone that isn't exactly a household name, but to wrestling fans certainly is a Hall of Fame talent, someone certainly that's getting a little long in the tooth, that's closer to the end than to the beginning, but seems to be motivated to want to contribute to the success and the growth of the company. Do you think it was worth them maybe to, dare I say, overspend a little bit to be able to bring in the brand that is Paul White?
Yes. And I say that for a couple of reasons. You're buying 22 years of wrestling experience.
And that's not even including his WCW stint.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So look what you're buying. Look what you're buying. And look at the role he's going to play. It's not all in ring. So I think he's got the best of both worlds here. I think they made a wise investment because you can't buy what he's going to contribute. So I say yes. I say AEW made a good decision there. Again, I'm shocked when I find out that maybe the counteroffer wasn't what he expected, or he even expected a counteroffer. Maybe he just said, this is it. I've had my run. It's been a great time. I've got a chance to move on. But to move on with the competition, that's where it gets a little sour.
Well, at least right now it's competition to NXT, which was something he never really had involvement in. If it was a WCW, WWF Monday Night Wars type situation, perhaps there could have been a little bit more tension with, and I don't know how much there is or there isn't. All I know is some of the facts that I found out with my sleuthing, that, you know, it caused, in the merchandising ways, it caused some headaches with some things they had planned for him with the video game and the action figures and things like that, you know, sometimes they take a year or so to plan out. As far as him as an active talent, is WWE really going to miss him? Again, how much more was there for that man to contribute in that company?
He's done it all.
Yeah.
He's done it all.
He's done it all. And what I find interesting, Johnny, is he potentially could be the first person to hold, and you know, you got to look at it loosely, but WWE Championship, WCW Championship, ECW Championship, AEW Championship.
That's not a real possibility at all. But I tell you that the first thing you're going to see is the surprise person come out and face Shaq, and that's going to be the Big Show.
Well, I tell you this, Johnny, I think the key to Big Show working is how WWE missed the boat with him, is that moderation is the key when it comes to the Big Show. You can't have the guy on TV wrestling every week, or he just becomes part of the package. It's why Andre was always so special.
That's right.
He was enigma. He was someone that was used in time to time, not weekly.
And that was
he was full-time with WWF for the last few years, but it's not like he was wrestling in big marquee matches on free TV each week.
Right.
I think part of the reason The Undertaker had the longevity that he did was, from pretty much WrestleMania 20 going forward, he was never a 52-week-a-year guy. He had stints where he'd be in full-time, and then they'd kill him off, or he'd be injured or something like that. And, you know, he'd be away from the television screen for a while, awaiting that big return. I think a full-time Big Show on TV is not to their benefit. I think a Big Show that wrestles 4 to 6 times a year is to their benefit. Put them on the pay-per-views, maybe a couple of big TV specials each year. Keep it special. Make it meaningful. Make it have that value to it. Make everything he does maximize that dollar you're paying him. If you want to have him as a commentator on one of the YouTube shows, he might be a great broadcaster. I know he's very well spoken. He's a very smart man.
He is very.
I think he could potentially be a very good commentator. Another thought that I also had, I don't know what you think, is that AEW has generally a very small, and I'm not talking about physical quantity, I'm talking about actually physically, smaller guys that came from the independents. My worry would be you put him in the ring with some of these guys, and it's going to look like you know, a dad with a 4-year-old son. You know what I mean? And you don't want to expose your regulars that you need out there on a full-time basis to be very, very small compared to someone the size of the Big Show.
I agree.
And people know he's a big man, but I mean, I don't think people realize how, I don't want to sound rude, I don't think people realize if they met, I think they'd be surprised if they met a lot of some of the AEW talent in person at what their actual size is.
I would agree with that. Kenny Omega is another person that you say, wow, larger than life. No, that's why he fit well in New Japan Pro.
I mean, Moxley stands out as kind of big in AEW, and Jericho stands out as kind
They're
of
not.
big in AEW.
No, they're not.
And I am much bigger than them in real life.
Even me.
And I know the Big Show is much bigger than me in real life.
Oh, he definitely
So,
is.
I mean, for him to be standing next to some of those people, I think it would kind of hurt them a little bit.
Well, I still say that now he's in. You asked this, we did a couple of shows back, you asked about, you know, who's going to win this? Cody Rhodes, female, Shaq O'Neal, who's going to win this match? I'm telling you, get ready. It's Big Show's going to be the surprise, bam, with the one punch, and it's going to be a couple of matches with Shaq versus Big Show.
You really think
I don't
they'd
want
go the route of Shaq and the Big Show?
Maybe not one-on-one like that. Maybe not one-on-one. But you know what? Why else? Why else? What do you do with Shaq after the match is over? You tell me.
Well, they air about, what, 40 NBA games a year on TNT? He's a great analyst for basketball. I think, you know what, there isn't much in the tank with. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Shaq comes in and does great business for them. And he does get new eyeballs on the product. And maybe he comes in as a part-timer where there's a TNT tie-in. Maybe it's going to turn out great. I've been told that people that have played basketball of all the different sports have the easiest time acclimating themselves to pro wrestling, whether it be because of the physical movements or whatever it may be. Maybe Shaq has great value to wrestling, and I just haven't put the pieces in my brain together yet to see what I'm going to see once it develops on screen. I don't know. On paper, I don't see it being anything I'd want to see more than once. Nothing I'm really not all that excited to have on the TV screen even once. I hope I'm wrong. I hope AEW has come up with a great concept for him, and he's going to really help the brand and help the business, because it's good for the business if AEW does well. I just don't anticipate it.
The trouble with bringing in outsiders to perform in professional wrestling is if you're current and you're a star, bring me in. Because the younger generation knows who you are. It'd be like bringing Lady Gaga in to face Sasha Banks. All right, there's something like, wow, Lady Gaga. People will buy tickets. You know what? Shaq is my era. I hate to say that, but that's my era. That was my time. I know who Shaq is. Nothing but good words for Shaq O'Neal. Hell of a basketball player. Hell of a philanthropist. Great all-around human being. Will he draw? Probably not.
I think for the first time, for that tag team match, I will have, and it'll have aired by the time this episode does, I will have assumed it should give that show a big bump in the ratings for all the promotion they've gave it.
We'll
and
see.
It's free. It's not like it's a pay-per-view.
I understand.
It's free TV.
It's good. I like their TV. Believe me.
If I'll tell you this, if AEW doesn't hit 1 million people the night of Shaq's match, monster disappointment. Monster disappointment.
Okay, I guess I got to really stick my neck in a noose here.
All right, let's hear it, baby.
I don't see how they're going to reach 1 million people because Shaq O'Neal is there. Because there's nothing special about that match.
Well, you're taking one of NBA's great centers in the history of the game and putting him in a wrestling ring.
Could have put Larry Bird in there.
Well, Larry's a little longer in the tooth than Shaq.
I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, you're taking. Look, first of all, I don't know how much sense this match
let's
makes
hear it.
anyway.
Yeah.
You know my feeling on that. I already voiced it. So my whole thing is, will there be 1 million viewers? As you said, if there are, I'm wrong. Maybe I'll buy you the coffee and muffin next time.
Well, I've still, in my 40 years, I've never had a cup of coffee, so it might be a cheap day at the office for you.
We'll get you tea.
I've never had a cup of tea.
There you go.
I like iced tea.
We'll get you. you've had tea then.
Like my good friend in the control room, Cecil the Lion, he always hooks me up with a lemonade or a raspberry iced tea.
There you go.
Another reason why we love him.
There you go. So my whole thing is, let's really see what happens here. You know, how does a 7-foot guy face a little Cody Rhodes? I told you before,
But you know,
get him
the
off
thing
his
is, Cody
feet.
Rhodes, he's not as height in hand. He doesn't.
He's quick on his feet.
He's very quick on his feet, but he's a decent enough size guy.
No, I understand.
It's not going to be a monster expose like it would be if it was the Young Bucks.
I think
per
when they
se,
come
or
to the
something
ring,
like that.
when they come to the ring, Big Show will escort him down.
You think so?
It's got to be. That's going to be the surprise element. It's got to be. Now that Show's there, now you get this 7-foot guy, this 7-foot guy. You know what? I see that look in your face, but it's like going to a bakery. You don't like the cookies I eat, but there's a line for them.
I think it exposes Big Show because if you remember the WrestleMania 32 Battle Royal, for two guys that were about to be that are supposed to be the same size, Shaq looked like he had a good 3 or 4 inches at least on Big Show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll digress for 1 second, Johnny. You mentioned Larry Bird a minute ago. Did you know he's from one of your favorite places?
Where's that?
French Lick, Indiana. Did you know that Larry's from French Lick?
I didn't.
Well, we
had
know,
a lot of Larry Bird autographs that I sold very cheaply.
Really? Oh, geez, I wish I had known that. Was a huge Larry Bird fan.
Were you?
Yeah.
Had an autographed clock. I had some autographed memorabilia from Larry Bird that I let go very cheaply, which I'm sad to say I did. I shouldn't have.
I know you were at one point, I don't know about now, but a big memorabilia collector in sports.
I still do. I have. I probably have about. My guess is now about 6,000 cards.
Wow.
Baseball, hockey, football, pro wrestling, Star Wars, Simpsons.
Don't say that too loud.
Yeah, what's that?
Star
Wars. Yeah, Darth Vader himself will come out. I think I may have a Kobe Bryant, and I think I may have a Mark McGuire rookie.
Wow.
So, I just hang on them for the grandkids.
Do you enjoy a French Lick?
I could come back with a
You know, you and Margot, you could travel to Larry Bird's hometown and actually live it.
I'm surprised you haven't asked me if I like a French dip sandwich, but
No, I don't know about that.
we'll move on.
That's Mr. Super Bowl style. But
Okay, here we go.
Johnny, we did a big show. It's going to be interesting to see just how big of an addition he is going to be. The fans had some interesting, it was a fan that had a very interesting question with multiple answers. They wanted to know, Johnny, in your opinion, who do you think, which company has done the better job with certain talents that have been with both WWE and AEW in recent times? And there's a few, the distance in tenures vary, but point blank, the first one we'll throw out there is Jon Moxley. Do you think the man has found greater success in ring in AEW or WWE?
Without a question, AEW.
And I agree with you on that one. I think the AEW presentation of Jon Moxley blew away Dean Ambrose in WWE. Overproduced, lousy promos, especially towards the end. A lot of lousy creative from Moxley.
They destroyed another person they were destroyed. They destroyed him.
Chris Jericho.
I think Chris holds equal billing. I really do. He was a tremendous success in WWF, WWE. I think he's over in AEW, but again, I think Jericho maybe ought to be thinking about winding down. You know what I'm saying? But I think he's had success in both promotions. And I'll say this, I don't care where Chris Jericho goes, he will always be successful.
Well, I think the problem with Jericho and AEW is too much comedy. And I mean, granted, there was a lot of comedy in WWE too, but multiple-time world champion in WWE, the first AEW champion, I mean, certainly he has had success in both companies. I think right now, maybe the best way to answer that one to me is, if it was 2021, I think better utilized in AEW than if he was in WWE.
Okay.
Over the course of his career, you're talking about a year or so, 2 years in AEW compared to almost 20 in WWE. Does that make sense at least?
It does. It makes sense. No, I agree with you. I agree.
One, and I'm interested in your opinion on this one. Jake Hager, the former Jack Swagger.
I think that they started out on the right track with Jack Swagger in WWE with his famous manager. And then they dropped the ball again on him, and he has done much better on AEW than he did on WWE. I see AEW recognizing talent for talent and allowing talent to have more input than they have on the other side. So I would say right now, AEW.
I have to agree with you. I think especially, and right now, if you were to say where would he be better utilized, I'd say AEW. In WWE, yeah, he did get off to a hot start. He was a world champion, a Money in the Bank winner. He was in a WrestleMania championship match at 29 against your good friend Alberto Del Rio. But, you know, I don't know what they didn't see in Jack Swagger. In a time when size is such a rarity, a guy that was that big to do nothing with him for several years before his contract ended, and he decided to try a little MMA and then move on to AEW. The only thing I don't like about him in AEW, I don't understand the wardrobe. You know, you're talking like when you go to see Grandpa at a barbecue in the summer. You know what I mean? This guy is, I believe he's still in his 30s.
Yes.
World-class athlete in great physical condition. Why hide it if you got it? You know what I mean?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. How about this one? Brody Lee, Luke Harper, who unfortunately passed away in December.
There is absolutely no question in my mind that he did much better in AEW.
Really?
Yeah, they allowed him to develop a character. If you want to go back to WWE, I would say that the opportunity for Brody Lee, God rest his soul, was there when they had the Wyatt family. I don't know what happened after that. It just seemed to fall apart for him. They couldn't find a place to use
The
him.
whole Wyatt family fell apart.
Yeah, well, everybody was
it
just
shows
gone.
how bad the creative is.
Yeah, it's
How do
gone.
you take a faction that was that over? And I mean, look at what happened to Rowan and Harper. I mean, as if they were nothing.
No, they just threw
Nobody's.
him gone. And so I would say AEW finally took this gentleman, gave him the opportunity he wanted and needed, and it's unfortunate that, as you know, I say it many times, Hemingway wrote the book For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's unfortunate that it told for Brody Lee, because I think had he been allowed to continue, we'd have seen a lot more.
I hate to say it, Johnny, I disagree with you on this one. I think, I agree with you in a way and disagree. I think as far as the push goes, he got a much better push in AEW. I wasn't particularly fond of the character they were trying to develop for him there as the leader of that horrible Dark Order faction. Where it reminds you of him so much, I would kind of just dissolve it, because each week it reminds you of something sad. I would try and find a fresh coat of paint for some of these talents for a faction that really wasn't over without Brody Lee. That's one man's opinion. I would have liked to have seen Luke Harper get the push that Brody Lee got. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I thought there was a lot of mileage in Brody Lee. He was a scary-looking guy that was very, very good and very, very effective in the ring. But for whatever reason, WWE didn't see in Luke Harper what we saw, apparently.
Well,
And AEW saw in the man the ability to be a top-tier player, but I just wasn't a big fan of the Brody Lee character.
yeah, I think what they try to do is recreate that Wyatt family with a different name. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
If you want to go, I mean, I'll go with you. That was a mistake.
What about a man now known as Miro, the former Rusev in WWE? Another one that I thought could have been a top-tier player for WWE for years to come. The fans, I'll never forget that wild week in New Orleans when they were running the streets. The little Dutch boy from Holland couldn't believe the excitement, screaming Rusev Day, tens of thousands of fans, and WWE didn't want to go with it. Vince said they're making a joke of you.
I remember when I first met Rusev, before he had his wife with him. They were traveling together. I'm sorry he cut his hair.
Yes.
That was his first mistake. He destroyed his own character, number one.
and I hate to say it, well, you continue with your opinion.
No, go ahead.
I
No.
think he kind of shot himself a foot in the little bit by slimming out so much.
Thank you.
For his own
Thank you.
personal health, probably for the best.
Yep.
But for his wrestling persona, I think he looked more dangerous, a little thicker.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. You took the words out of my mouth. I think Rusev had great potential in WWE. There's another gentleman they took, pushed the hell out of him, had that great match with Cena at WrestleMania. I mean, it was great. I said, it doesn't hurt to lose to John Cena. We were talking to his family. It really put you over. But it was great. And then all of a sudden, where's Rusev? They got him playing the bubblegum machine. This is crazy. Insane. Here's a guy they could have made another Ivan Koloff. I mean, he was so with it. And to bring Lana in and try to pair him with her.
Like she was Brigitte Nielsen in
that
Rocky.
didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't. I hate to say it. Your wife is your wife. Your girlfriend's your girlfriend. It just didn't work. We lost the Russian accent she had. Everything seemed to go that way. It was wrong to say that. She became this, the person who was against the United States. Rusev was the man. And then what happens? We lose it all. AEW, I think, is going to give him the chance he really needs.
I'll say this. I like that AEW is actually trying to do something with him.
Yep.
But what they've done thus far, I could do without the blonde hair. I don't like the fact that they've used him as more of a comedy character with another guy that I think, a young Kip Sabian from England, who I think has a world of upside to him in the years to come, but they've kind of gone the comedy route with him too. I just think, I don't think there are as many people out there that want to laugh at wrestling than enjoy the simulated violence that it used to represent. I think more people would love to see that presentation than, ha ha ha, let me laugh at them.
You know what?
I don't want to laugh at them. I want to see like what we were talking about with Bobby Lashley and Roman, some
Wrestling.
kick-ass wrestlers.
Wrestling, because
Not ha-ha. I don't want to ha-ha. There's a million things I could watch on TV I can ha-ha at. There are very few forms of simulated violence on TV.
I agree. And my whole thing is this. Comedy has a place in anything.
Sure.
Anything. But it's just like when you make that ice cream sundae, if you put too much on it, nobody wants it. It looks lousy and tastes lousy.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, and that's the problem right now. That's the way I see it.
What about the tag team formerly known as The Revival, FTR and AEW, managed by the Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard?
I'm going to say AEW. They're doing pretty good there. I think they've done much better than they were before. Much, much better. It only remains to be seen, though, again, how long the push is going to go, how far they're going to let people go. It's a funny business, wrestling.
They have more of an affinity for tag team wrestling in AEW. Some of the tag teams, they might not exactly, some people love them. They might not be the best flavor for others. There's some I could do without, but I like the fact that they have, it seems, much more respect for tag team wrestling than WWE does, where they just try and throw any two guys together that don't have anything going on in the singles ranks at the moment.
Yep.
AEW, they have a big place for tag team wrestling in the company.
I agree.
I think they had some great matches when they first came in. They worked with the Omega and Page team, who were the champions. They worked with the Young Bucks. And then it seems like, they've kind of had them in this little mid-card program with the Jurassic Express. And it's, I don't want to say they've lost focus of FTR, but they're not as hot as they were when they came in.
I agree.
But I do agree with you in the fact that I think AEW has used FTR Revival, whatever you want to call them. I think overall, much better presentation in AEW than in WWE, which is a shame because I tell you this, I think it was the WrestleMania weekend in Orlando back in 2017. I thought the match of the weekend, and again, thanks to our good friends at WWE for allowing me to be there to see them, the best match of the weekend, I thought, was Revival against Tommaso and Gargano against Authors of Pain, who are no longer with the company at all right now. Isn't that sad? Just 4 years ago, they put on what might have been certainly one of the better matches of the weekend, if not the best. And 4 out of those 6 guys aren't even with the company 4 years later.
Well, you know what? That's how it goes in this business, and I can't wait to
Nothing
see
is forever, for
Ciampa
sure.
and Gargano to reach that top level if they make it that far.
Well, I'll tell you this. I hate to say it, and I said it to our friend with the beard. The best thing that ever happened to Tommaso was that he broke his neck when he did. Because if they kept him on the main roster when they brought him, Gargano, Ricochet, and Aleister Black up at the same time, he'd be in the same boat as them.
So he'd be
more
gone.
than likely.
All gone.
He'd
Yep.
be gone, or he'd be a guy that's on the main event WWE Network TV show,
And that's
or a
it.
guy losing to Retribution every week.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So, and I don't want to see anybody get injured. And despite some of the despicable things Tommaso has done in the ring over the years, he's a world-class athlete, good
No
good
question.
egg.
Yep.
I'm glad he didn't get watered down by WWE Sports Entertainment, because in NXT he stands out as something exceptional.
He is exceptional.
He is exceptional.
I'm waiting to see Donovan Dijak. I don't know what's happening.
Well,
to him.
you can see him every week. And I'm not sure if he's T-Bar or Mace. No, he's not Mace. Mace is the one, Dio Madden, that used to be the commentator. But that's a different story for a different time. What about Goldust? I mean, again, very difficult to gauge a man that was with the company on and off for 25 years than one he's been with for 2 years. But 2021 per se, do you think Dustin is better off where he is now? Or, could WWE properly present a legendary Goldust from time to time in a great way?
I think Goldust has finally found himself.
Finally found himself.
Finally, you know what I'm trying to say? He's kind of WWE was just hanging on after he broke up with your buddy, the young lady.
Young.
Young.
Young. She's older than you.
You know what? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Oh, that was just a fact. That wasn't an insult.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
She's older than me?
Yes.
Older than 60? Wow.
Yeah, she's getting ready to collect the Social Security.
Woo! Woo! I don't know. I think Goldust is doing much better in AEW than he was in WWE. He was hot, but you could see when he came out with the live crowds with WWE, the pop factor was gone. It was gone. The character had lost its character. It was over. It was time for him to either move on or be written out of the script. So I think he got a lease on life, and I think he's doing well.
I'm happy for him. He's sober. He's clean.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
got himself in tremendous physical shape.
Yep.
I mean, God, if Goldust was ever in that kind of physical condition, they might have pushed him a lot harder. You know what I mean? Never mind, the sobriety issues that the man went through, but he's in a great place in life right now. He's got a good spot in AEW where he can both contribute in-ring. I know he likes to train younger talent. I'm not sure if it's not open yet, it's going to be opening soon. His training facility down in Texas, which I'm sure will lead to new AEW stars coming into the company. So, you know what? And personally, I like Dustin an awful lot. It was a shame how things ended with him here in Boston Wrestling and the MWF with his hand incident at Billerica High School, but that's a different story for a different time. He ruined a nice annual event that we had, and have never had since, which cost us. But, we won't reflect on that too much here because, normally, sometimes I can shoot when I get a little hot, but I like the guy an awful lot. And he was a funny man, nice guy, with a great passion for the business. And to me, if you have a great passion for the business, I can overlook a lot. You know what I mean? If you're genuinely interested in making an event better, trying to make younger guys better, I genuinely can overlook a lot. But what happened that night in Billerica, that was a lot to overlook. Just ask Commissioner Von Johnson's back seat.
All I want to say is this about what you're alluding to is we have all tripped and fallen. We all have made mistakes in our lives. And I think that's why I say he's finally made that turn. He's come around that corner. I'm sure when we look back on our lives, I know I do, I wish I never did that. I should have done this differently. I didn't realize what happened when I was doing this to this person. You know what? I think that it's time to move past it. He has. You can't, the good Lord made it very clear when he said, before you try to take the splinter out of your brother's eye, go look in the mirror and take the beam out of your own. Basically what it means is, I'm not perfect. take a look at my own sins and my own self first, and then I'll throw a few rocks if I'm able to. So, you know, he was who he was. We are who we are. I'm just glad, Dustin, you are who you are now.
You know what? That's a great way to put it. I like that. Lance Archer, that's kind of a tough one to even throw out there. He had a very limited stint in WWE. I think it was on the ECW brand, obviously, where he's found, you know, some main event matches and top-level matches in AEW. The presentation is better there. But the real one, I think, last one on this list that we could make a decent comparison to is Matt Hardy, a man that he was not fond of one of the episodes we produced when he was with WWE a couple of years ago. Do you prefer I get them confused. Was he woken or broken in WWE? I think both. From a presentation.
No, they had a big thing because you wanted to use that woken Matt Hardy gimmick, which I thought was rather stupid. It was almost like with the white hair and the black hair and the dual person. You know what? Matt Hardy is an outstanding performer.
Yes.
He's outstanding.
Yes.
There's no question in my mind about it.
Yes, his body of work speaks for itself.
Oh, yeah. There's
but
no
that
question.
gimmick, that character is one of the worst. I remember when he was in TNA, Impact Wrestling, when Zeb Coulter was in creative, I said, what is it supposed to be? And he tried to explain it to me, and it still didn't make any sense.
I don't think it made sense to Matt Hardy. I just think that Hardy came up with an idea.
People liked to chant delete. They had fun with it.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
It sucked, but they had fun chanting delete.
That's right. So my whole thing is, right now, Matt Hardy's in AEW. I hope, he was given his greatest opportunities with his brother in WWF and WWE. I think now in AEW, he's got to prove something. I hate to say it, he's done a lot in his life, but he's got to prove something now because we want to see Matt Hardy.
Well, I don't know how many personality transplants one can go through in 6 months. Since he's been in AEW, he was broken or woken or whatever it was, but the nonsense.
Was woken, broken, yep.
Then he became regular Matt Hardy, trying to help groom the Private Party tag team, who I think have great upside. I don't know how much you've seen of them, but they're green. But in 3 or 4 years, once they have more experience under their belt, I think Private Party could be one of the better tag teams in the business overall.
Yep.
But then he went from being broken, woken, then he was Matt, then he was kind of both of them, and now he's big money Matt Hardy, where he's the super agent trying to get 30% of everybody's earnings. And it's just like, he's only been there 6 months. How many times are you going to try and change the guy's personality?
I'm just wondering if it's creative that's doing this or it's Matt Hardy himself that's doing this.
Do you think he wants to try and give himself a fresh coat of paint to keep himself relevant too much?
I agree. I
think there's a lot of fans that just like him for him.
Be who you are. Like me or not, I'm me. Fine. I just think that he has so much talent. He has so much ability. I respect him, and I've worked matches with him on the indie side.
He's got a great mind for the business.
To say the least, my friend, to say the least.
But I don't think he's using it for himself.
Well,
if he's the one that's contributing to these ideas, no matter where he's been the past few years, outside of that Hardy Boy reunion, I haven't enjoyed any of the personalities.
No, and you know what, I have to say this, and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner at all. He's so banged up.
Yeah.
And so is his brother.
You can tell just when you watch him trying to get through the ropes.
Right, he's so banged up.
Mustn't be pleasant.
He gave his body up, just like his brother. How do you can't diss a guy like this because they truly gave 900, 1,000% of themselves for the fans. I don't like the big money guy. I don't think it's going to work. It's like trying to be, just bring me in.
It's like a poor man's
Bring Johnny
MVP.
Fabulous in.
There you go.
We'll do it for you.
There you go.
All right, forget Matt. I'll show you how it's done. We'll do it and have some fun doing it. And I'm just being a wise ass. But I think Matt Hardy should be Matt Hardy. Be the man you are. Be the professional. And I'm not saying you're not, but come on, let's see Matt Hardy.
All right, wrestling fans, before we go, one more tidbit from the world of AEW. Tony Khan, leading up to the pay-per-view, made a remark that apparently Sting is People had wondered if it was going to be the cinematic Sting people were going to see a lot of in the company, or in-ring Sting. Apparently, Sting has, especially from the power bomb that he took, headed into the pay-per-view from Brian Cage that almost took his head off again, he has a clean bill of health. I don't know if he was one of those superstars that we've talked about that I noted that had the stem cell work done down in Mexico, or apparently it is legal. But if he did, no matter how he got to the point he's at now, he's healthy enough to go. And I think, again, almost like with Big Show, if you could get 3 or 4 big matches out of Sting a year, it pays for itself. Not only do you have someone that's a legend on the TNT television channel, he's someone that is, very recognized to wrestling fans all over the globe. Maybe not a household name, but pretty close.
We used him in WWE. They got mileage out of that, but not what they expected to, because it wasn't done.
Another bad night with Seth.
But it wasn't done the right way. So my whole thing is, will he contribute a lot to AEW? The name recognition is there. Some of us who remember him for whom he is. The new crowd's got to kind of catch up with us. I have no idea how old he is.
I think he's 60. He's old. He had a couple of years on Taker.
Okay. If
he's not 60, he's going to be right around your age.
So my question is this. Why would you put yourself in jeopardy? It doesn't mean that Brian Cage can't control his moves. It doesn't mean that you can't take those moves. It means that your body's 150% different from it was when you were 35, 40, or 50.
Yeah. Even at 40, that's...
Yep.
From a big guy like that, that's quite a move to take.
I think Sting would have been great in there as a manager, would have been great as the Mystic. But to put yourself into the ring now and actually get involved in a match, all I'm going to say is this. How much can you really give, and how over will it really be?
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I think even for brand recognition, it's a great thing for AEW to pick up someone like Sting.
God bless
Someone
Sting.
like Big Show.
Yeah.
As long as their in-ring is, again, the big word, moderation. Moderation is key, almost like anything in life.
I
If
agree.
you overdo it, I think it grows very stale very quick, especially with guys that, again, are, to be honest, a little long in the tooth. They're not in there, they're past their primes, they're past their peak, but they can still contribute. They still have that name value. They still have that brand that they've built up over decades. So I think great additions. What's really going to be interesting, Johnny, is probably it's not going to be for a couple of years, but once the big name contracts start to come due in WWE, who is going to be the first one to leave WWE to go to AEW that's in their prime? You could say Moxley, but Moxley wanted out of that company altogether anyway. You know what I mean? He wasn't happy in WWE. He made it clear a long time before AEW even began that he didn't want to re-sign. So I don't necessarily say if that was a big free agent signing from WWE, you know what I mean? Maybe the best analogy you could make would be someone like Christian, or even better, Kurt Angle, jumping from WWE in their prime to go to TNA. Who will be the first person to do that? Could you ever see a Roman or a Rollins or someone like that take the leap where, again, Tony Khan and the Khan family have got more money than the McMahon family do? You know, you're not talking about minor league players here.
Here's the deal, Neil. The deal is very simple. How much money can I put on the bottom line, and how long your contract's going to be? And that's what this business is all about. You know what? Remember one thing. Your job, my job, their job, professional wrestling. I have a wife, kids to support. I've got to make the best I can for as long as I can, because this isn't forever. That's the mistake a lot of the old timers made. That's why they have no money. Was the women, the wine, the booze, the cars, the hotels, the drugs. So I think the younger professionals today realize that if Vince is giving me $5 million and 10% of the gate, and Khan's going to give me $8 million and 15% of the gate, it's a no-brainer. I think the only difference is, where's the security? My whole life I've said it isn't always about the money, and I think that's important.
I think if AEW has a few more years of longevity, you'll see talent much more comfortable, willing to risk it.
There you go.
To go.
I
For
agree
a
with
company that still is, it's not even 2 years old yet.
Nope.
I mean, you know, there is some risk involved. TNT has re-signed them for a couple of years, but, you know, TV shows get canceled. You know what I mean? And right now, that without live attendance, that's their lifeline. I'll say this, I heard through the grapevine that Ricochet's contract was expiring, and God, we've said it before on this show, I can't put Ricochet over enough. I think not only right now is he, no pun intended, one of the elite talents in professional wrestling, if I have WWE and have that magic pencil, I would be grooming him to be this generation's Rey Mysterio instead of an enhancement talent that moves around the ring very quickly. If I'm Ricochet and I can get anywhere near what I'm getting financially out of WWE from AEW, I would love to see him jump to that company in a heartbeat. And I'd like to see Tony Khan and those powers that be in AEW be smart enough to realize this is a guy, size-wise, that really fits in with a lot of their roster and would blow away the majority of their roster in the ring. Ricochet is one of the elite talents in the genre right now, and to see how he's just been, maybe the best word is miscast with how they've used him since he came to the main roster back in 2019. It should be illegal, it's so bad, because he's just so good. We have mutual friends that speak very highly of him personally, because sometimes you have some great talents that can be assholes in real life.
Oh, yeah.
But very well regarded by everybody. The kids, you know, when you're trying to grab that young demographic, he's very popular amongst kids.
He is.
I don't understand why his destination in WWE is what it is right now, because it sucks.
Well,
I mean, it sucks.
If it is coming to expiration, if there's a threat that somebody's going to offer him more money, you can bet that they'll package him, pay him, and never use him. That's just
Which would be a shame for fans, but not for him.
Be a shame. Ricochet's going to make money. Who cares?
Hey, if he could take better care of his family with that money, good for him. But as far as wrestling fans' enjoyment goes, not so much.
I think AEW may be the ones to buy him.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see any company to utilize him to his potential sign him up. I'd love to see it be WWE. Like I said, at his age, he could be this generation's Rey Mysterio.
They bought him but haven't used him, so let's see what happens.
All right, wrestling fans are running out of time. On this fine episode, we would love for your feedback. If you're with us Friday Night Live during the premiere, your thoughts, your comments on the AEW, WWE banter we've had going back and forth, plus Sting, Big Show, Ricochet. If you're not joining us during the premiere, your thoughts are always welcome in the comment section below. Don't forget, help us grow the channel, baby. We don't have an ego too big. We realize there are millions upon millions of fans that don't know we exist. If you give us a thumbs up, if you hit that subscribe button, if you share the links on social media, YouTube knows you want more. And it'll show more and more new fans what we have and what we do with original in-studio shoot interviews, not one, not two, not three, 4 nights a week, plus content 7 days a week, historical content, flashbacks, talk shows, weekend reviews. I mean, Johnny, I don't know what we don't do other than have in-ring wrestling right now, but hopefully we're getting to that point too.
We're getting there.
Again, the nightlife has been killed, but the eBay store is open 24/7. Find the link in the description box below. And finally, most important, you're a friend if you watch these shows. We love you. But if you head on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, you become part of the family. You get early ad-free access to all 4 of those in-studio shoot interviews every week. You get access to our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, hundreds and hundreds of shoot interviews that have been seen by millions online, millions by Howard Stern. You get exclusive Patreon access you don't see on YouTube or elsewhere, and most important, you help us keep the lights on, you help keep professional wrestling legends working. Again, it's been just about a full year now since Corona took over this country, this great country of ours. It's killed the guys when it comes to independent bookings, on wrestling events, autograph signings, conventions. For those that don't have those full-time WWE and AEW deals, their lives have been decimated. Let's get as many as possible in this studio, and for our endeavor that we're attempting to put together in Tampa at Wrestle House. So for Mr. West himself, John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. Until we speak again, folks, we'll see you next Friday after SmackDown on Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Have a great week ahead. Special thanks to the Raging Beast, Cecil the Lion. Did a hell of a job directing, John.
Absolutely.
Maybe he gets a bottle of Fabo Pop.
We'll see.
Half price if nothing else.
Free.
Free, all right. We'll see you next time, folks. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Lakeland Civic Center in Lakeland, Florida, Friday, March the 19th, 1993. In the opening contest, Raymond Rougeau beat the Brooklyn Brawler. The Nasty Boys battled the Head Shrinkers to a double disqualification. Skinner with the win over Coco Beware. Bob Backlund defeated Kimchi. Bam Bam Bigelow victorious over Kamala via countout. Typhoon beat the Cuban Terrorist. Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake with the win over WWF Tag Team Champions Money Inc. in a non-title match. And in the main event, Bret Hitman Hart and Mr. Perfect defeated Lex Luger and Razor Ramon. If you were in Lakeland Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box so we can keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. All right, wrestling fans, unbelievable. John Cena Sr. is a man that certainly loves to pontificate when he has a point to make. And let me tell you something, he's had something pointing in the direction of Margot Ouellette. That is a different story for a different time, even though it is late night right now. I don't know if you can ever be too late to discuss what's going on in those sheets with Johnny and Margot. Fans, it has been a pleasure to have you with us once again. These 3 to 4 hour adventures we have Saturday night. Who needs Saturday Night Live? Who needs Netflix and all these other streaming services when you got Wrestling Insiders Week in Review? We love to have fun. Hopefully I was able to chime in and join the premiere chat as well. Again, we'll be back next Saturday with 4 new episodes for your professional wrestling enjoyment. Again, we ask you, if you had fun tonight, give us a big thumbs up. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. It's free. Click the little bell. It'll give you a notification when we have a new episode. And especially when it comes to our big 4 talk shows each week, please share the link with anyone you think that may enjoy it. Friends, family, Facebook, Twitter, wrestling websites, wrestling Facebook groups, Reddit, here, there, anywhere. If they're wrestling fans and they don't know who we are yet, we want them to check us out, especially if they enjoyed pro wrestling during what we consider the glory days of the 80s and the 90s. The eBay store continues to be open for business 24/7 around the globe, and that Patreon streaming service, baby. You're all our friends, but when you join the Patreon for less than a cup of overpriced coffee down at Starbucks, you're part of the family, because you get that early ad-free access to Wrestling Insiders. You get the DVDs that have been seen by millions online, millions on old Howard Stern. Howard Stern loved our content at one point and was playing it every day. You get the Patreon exclusive content, and you know that you, yes you, when you get up in the morning, you're brushing those teeth, you look in the mirror, you may be grumpy, you may be saying, I want to go back to bed, but you'll have the knowledge of knowing that you are helping keep professional wrestling legends working. With that said, I am Dan Marati. It is time I hit the hay. I'm sure it's going to be an early morning back at MWF Studios, producing more great content for the week ahead. Until we speak again, you and yours, be well, stay healthy. Good night. The World Wrestling Federation was sold out at the Frank Irwin Center in Austin, Texas, Saturday, March the 20th, 1999. The opening contest, Too Much beat Gangrel and Edge. Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman with the win over Tiger Ali Singh. The Acolytes defeated DOA. WWF Hardcore Champion Billy Gunn retained the title over Hardcore Holly and Al Snow. The Godfather and Jackie beat D'Lo Brown and Ivory. WWF Intercontinental Champion Road Dogg retained the title over Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and Val Venus in an elimination match. The Undertaker defeated the Big Boss Man. WWF Tag Team Champions Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett retained over Triple H and X-Pac. And in the main event, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mankind beat WWF World Champion The Rock and Kane in a Texas Tornado match. If you were in Austin live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the link in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling.